Good evening, everyone. My name is Ronald Presner. I'm Chairman of the Zoning Board of Appeals for the Town of Mount Pleasant, and welcome to tonight's ZBA meeting. Before we start, let me first introduce the members of our board. To my far right is Mr. Scott Travella. To my immediate right is Nick DeCicco. To my immediate left is Kathy Naclario, Secretary of Zoning and Planning. To her left is Mr. Herb Dorr, and at the far left is Mr. George Lapazos. And sitting at the table over here, diagonally in front of me, is Mr. Joseph Briganti, the building inspector for the town of Mount Pleasant. Before we start, let me explain how we run our meeting. When your application is called, you'll come forward. I'll swear you in. I will then read the application for public record. After that's done, you have a chance to explain the reasons for your variance. And once that's finished, we'll discuss it with the members of the board. You'll have an opportunity for the board members to ask questions. And when that's completed, we'll then ask the audience if there's anyone for or against the application. If it's an application where it's basic, we will approve the application at that moment. If it's a controversial one, we either will approve it, deny it, or hold it over until a later meeting. And with that said, we got a little house cleaning to do. If anybody is here for 2359, which is Claire Pearson, that's been adjourned, and also Maria and Roberto Molina, that application has been adjourned for this evening. So we'll start with the new application, Michael and Susan Martinez. Oh, I'm sorry. Change of plans. We have Julio Rizzo, property located on Holly Lane. Just leave that open on the side over here, please. Yeah, so in case they want to use.
He's not here yet? Or has to go then?
All right.
This one first.
All right, so we'll give it a shot.
Just let me know when he's here. Do this one.
All right. The application for this evening is Michael and Susan Martinez, if they're here. Good evening. Raise your right hand, please. Testimony you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God. Okay, you are?
Michael Martinez.
Okay. So you're Michael Martinez, the owner of the property located at 10 High Street in Valhalla.
Yes, sir.
On the tax map, it's section 117.19, block 1, lot 58. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
The application for the legalization of an existing 7.5-foot retaining wall on a legal standard parcel of 10,000 square feet, and in the R10 zone, on a maximum fence or wall height is 4 feet, existing is 7.5. You're asking for a 3.5-foot variance.
Yes, sir.
Your property is the one that goes like this?
Yeah,
Okay.
the nice slope over there.
Yeah. We were there on Saturday. If you're facing the front of your property, it's on the left-hand
Yes,
side,
sir.
correct? And the reason for the wall that went up was because of what, soil erosion?
A storm came and knocked over my neighbor's retaining wall, which was holding up half of my yard, so that was the
Okay.
additional few feet.
Now, is that a 100% stone wall, or is it stone wall with fence on top?
Oh, there's a fence on top, on
Okay.
top of the wall. That's not on the wall, off the wall.
All right, so the wall itself, is 7 feet? Okay. I have no further questions. Mr. Travella?
Yeah, when did you put the wall up?
It was maybe 5 or 6 months ago, it was put up.
Oh, recent, right. And so a storm had happened just prior to that?
No, it was the storms that happened like the previous November,
Right.
and
And what made you put a 7.5 foot wall?
well, there's the
As opposed to
topography of
something
the,
shorter.
right, the topography of the backyard to begin with, and what was holding up my yard that was knocked over when my neighbor's wall fell over, which they didn't replace. Now there's a 7-foot, wall of dirt that would have come over with a 4-foot wall.
And the contractor recommended that?
Yeah.
Yeah. And how does the neighbor feel about that?
Hasn't really, complained too much about it, but, he's.
Well, benefits them too, right?
What was that?
Benefits them too as
Yeah,
well.
benefits them too, yeah, just, it's the aesthetics of it and everything. It replaces their broken up wall.
Right.
Mr. DeChico?
What was there before you put up this wall? Or what did it look like beforehand?
Well, there's my neighbor's retaining wall, which held up about 5 feet of my yard.
Okay.
And then I had my fence on top of the yard, which was pretty much, parallel to, the topography of my backyard up on the slope. And the storm came and knocked over their wall, which was like the 4 or 5 feet that was holding up my yard.
Okay.
So now that's why that huge giant gap was there.
So I'm just trying to understand if previously there was.
There was a wall on my neighbor's side.
Right, but it was about 5 feet high is what you're saying?
Yeah, it was like, 4 to 5 feet high. I'm not exactly sure what it was. I've never been on that side.
So just so I understand, so what was the need to then go 2.5 feet higher? When you,
The way the backyard slopes up, if it was still on 4 feet, there still would have been 4 or 5 feet of exposed dirt on top of that would have just eroded right on top of that, which would have basically made the wall useless to begin
was
with.
the fence wasn't serving as any type of.
No, it was just a
barrier,
fence.
it
No,
was just
not
a-
even close.
okay.
Yeah, it was just,
Right.
And the original wall, or was it original? How long was that there?
as long as I've been in the house for 20 years, so who knows how long it was up before there. It's always been up there.
Okay. Mr. Dorr?
So, looking at the plans, in the back, you have like a basketball court
Yes.
up on that top section?
Yes.
So really, it's, what collapsed was only towards that basketball court?
It
So
was
it's
on the
only that-
side, it was on the
On
side.
the side, only that short distance there?
Yeah, that short distance on that side over
And
there.
and that is only 4 foot, and then the fence on top of it?
Well, that slopes down.
Right.
And that was basically what was holding up my part of the yard, and all of that fell over, which pulled down all of the dirt on the side of my basketball court. which we-
Because I know you adjourned last month, right?
Yeah,
Because of whatever. I know the first time we went by, we tried to get in the backyard, and you have a block returning wall by your driveway.
yes, on the inside.
On the inside.
Yeah, yeah,
And we
yeah.
went in, and all of a sudden, we saw 2 dogs, so we
Oh, okay,
closed
yeah,
real
yeah.
quick. So we didn't walk all the way
They might
in.
lick you to death, be careful.
Well, we don't take that assumption. So then we walked actually on your neighbor's property and look up into it. I personally, I would look at that one wall, it looks like it's starting to lean also, so.
On the
Mother
one
Nature
inside, yeah,
can-
that's been up 20 years also.
Yeah, but this one was probably up at the same time. So it's really only that back section that collapsed.
Right,
that
yeah,
you're
which is
looking
on my,
at.
yeah, which is my
So-
neighbor's wall.
In essence, you've really enhanced the whole property line along that side anyway.
Right.
Okay, that's all.
Mr. Laplatos?
Just briefly, when did you become aware that you needed a permit, a variance?
Probably about a month or so after, this happened, my neighbor was gonna replace something on there, and it was never being replaced, and the dirt just kept eroding into his yard, so we kind of, figured out we needed to get, the work done, and then get all the permits and just do it the proper way.
Yeah, see, what I'm getting at is just, and you're not the first person to appear before this board having done work and then subsequently realized that you needed
Right.
to have a permit and therefore you needed to get a variance. So what was it again that precipitated you to go and follow the requirements to get the?
Well, 'cause it started getting high a little bit also, where you kind of realize it's like how much had to be excavated and how far it basically went down. So once it kind of started going down, we just realized once it started going up, you should really
He had a permit for the wall.
I had a permit for
He had a
that.
permit, and then they went out and saw that the way that it was going, that he had to get a variance at that point.
Thank you.
Are there any other questions from the members of the board?
Nothing further, Mr. Chairman.
Is there anyone here for or against the application? No one? Okay. Does the board wish to make a determination this?
Mr. Chairman, I motion to approve application as submitted.
Do I have a second?
I'll second, Mr. Chairman.
Second by Mr. Laplatos. Mr. Tabella?
Aye.
DeChico?
Aye.
The chairman votes aye. Next we'll make it a little, that's okay.
Thank you so much. Have a good
You're
day.
welcome.
Thank you.
You want to ask Mr. Rizzo?
What? We're gonna do Buzz, but All right, the next application is 24-4 Hawthorne Fire Department.
Good evening, everybody.
Good evening. Raise your right hand. Testimony you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God.
Yes, it is.
You are.
Bo D. Simone, Commissioner of the Hawthorne Fire District.
Okay. And this is regarding the Hawthorne Fire Department premises at 25 Home Street in Hawthorne, correct?
Correct.
And on the tax map, it's section 112.13, block 3, lot 7.
Correct.
And the application is for a proposed LED message board for the fire department and also for community events,
Correct, yes.
like your turkey shoot and your bingo and
Yep.
so on. Okay. The parcel's 44,000 square feet. When we were out there, is it going to be in the same position where the existing sign is now?
No, what we're going to do is, because presently where that board is now, you really can't see very well with the new telephone pole that they put in front of that. So what we're going to do is that just south of the entrance to the parking lot off of Elwood Avenue, there's a little horseshoe indentation of evergreens. And that's where we're going to put the sign perpendicular to Elwood Avenue. So you can see the sign coming north and you'll be able to see the sign heading south.
Now, this intersection here that you have, when we looked at the plans, it was a little hard to see this little, I'll call it an island, this little, is that south of the firehouse, or is it in the middle of the firehouse?
It's right in the middle of the firehouse. It's just off of the ambulance bays is where it's going to be roughly sitting, right
Okay,
next to the ambulance bays.
and that's going to be on 24 hours?
No, the one that we researched and that stuff will have a startup time and a turn-off time. So, we're looking, probably like 7 o'clock in the morning maybe, but by 10:30 at night,
Shut it off?
yeah, it'll be turned off.
Okay.
We can set everything up like that. I wanted to make sure that, because I didn't want it to be going all night long, nobody's gonna see anything.
Not if you live there, no.
No, exactly, nobody wants to see that sign blinking, 2 o'clock in the morning, so that's why we wanted to make sure that we were able to get a sign that can turn them off
Gotcha.
and on.
Gotcha. Mr. Tavelli, you have any questions?
Yeah, I see the model here you submitted. It's gonna look just like this?
It's gonna look very similar to that, yes, very.
Now, do you have any idea how much light this gives off?
Not off the top of my head, no. I don't remember how much light it gives off. That's why we wanted to make sure that come nighttime, we were able to
Yeah.
shut it off at, at a
Yeah.
certain time at night,
I
so it
mean,
doesn't bother anybody.
It's generally just gonna be reading words like a message board, like they have at, in front of schools, right?
Right, yeah,
Like
exactly,
they
just
have
like the one
big-
they have up at Westlake High School,
Right.
right over here at Valhalla High School. That's all, just to give us, let people know when we're having our open houses for fire prevention, maybe what days we're going to the schools for Fire Prevention Week, special events, for like Mount Pleasant Day, our turkey bingo, our Santa parades, and then if, the town wants to put something on there too, the recreation department wants to put something up to, for the fall foliage, that, all we gotta do is just type everything in on our phones and boom, it'll go up.
Right, right. Yeah, I just hope when the sign comes, it's just gonna read messaging and no bright lights. Just be cognizant of that, right?
Yeah,
Because,
oh, no, also, we're great, I think there's also a dimmer switch, that
Yeah.
you can.
Oh, yeah?
I believe so, because I did a lot of work with, Stewart, signs. I believe they also did the one up at Westlake High School and a couple of other fire districts, up north and out on Long Island, and everybody was going with just one certain model brand, to make sure it wasn't obtrusive to everybody.
Okay, yeah. No, because, at the end of the day, it is a variance and we don't want it disturbing the neighbors, right?
Yep, no, absolutely. The two people that are right across from the street, right across from the firehouse, they've got, 12, 15-foot high hedges, so we know that they're not, we're lucky with that they're not gonna be bothered. So it's based just a little bit to the north and to the south, but I don't, there's enough space there that I think that'll be
Mr. DeChico?
non-bothering.
Thank you.
So are you comfortable with, and do you understand that the variance, if granted, would be for a sign the size and scope as proposed here? So that means if you wanted to expand the sign or make a bigger sign, it would have to come back?
Yeah, oh, no, absolutely, oh, absolutely, yeah.
Because we just want to make sure that we're clear that we're not giving it a blanket approval for, to put up any type of sign in
No, what
the
basi-
future. I'm not
Yeah,
saying
no,
that-
basically
that's
what
not-
you see right there is
Yeah.
what we want to get. That's pretty much been, Golden's Bridge has something very similar to that.
Like I'm saying, it's not, I fully believe that, you would put up the sign that we see here, but the next guy that comes along is going to make a record
Yeah.
that he understands they're constrained to the plans and the dimensions that we're seeing.
No, absolutely. It'll actually, I think the way we measured it out, it'll actually be the same size and height as the one that's there already that was put up some 30 years ago.
Okay. Thank you.
Mr. Dorr?
So, Bo, you're talking about the height, according to these plans, is about 6 feet off the ground?
Yes.
So the one on the corner that's catty-cornered, you feel this has a better visibility than the one on the corner currently?
Yeah, because that telephone pole really does break up that sign a lot, because you've got two different poles there that are breaking up the front of that sign.
Okay, and the only reason is because when you put it on that corner, it's not affecting the neighbors to the same extent.
Yes, but this is,
And I know you already have the power there because you got lights that shine.
yeah, we were advised that this would be a better location to put it.
And the top where it says the name, is that unlit, or is that like a
That will
permanent
be,
name?
that'll be unlit.
But that's it stays like that, it's only the bottom part that has the
It's
message.
only, yeah, it's only the message board that will be lighting up.
Okay, that's fine.
Mr. Lepatos?
Nothing, Mr. Chairman, thank you.
Okay. Any other questions from the members of the board? Is there anyone here for or against this application? Running smooth.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes,
I make a motion that we approve as submitted.
and we have a motion by Mr. Dorr. Do I have a second?
A second the motion.
Second by Mr. Travella. Mr. DeChico?
Aye.
Aye. And Mr. Lepatos?
Aye.
Chairman votes aye, carried 5-0.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen.
All right.
Not so much. Looking at that,
Mr. Rizzo, did your counsel arrive? Okay.
Chief John has to leave.
All right, raise your right hand, please. Testimony you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God.
Yes.
Okay. You can have a seat over there if you wish. Thank you. You are?
Good evening. I'm Brian Sensabaugh. I'm an attorney with Zarin and Steinmetz, a law firm on behalf of the owner.
And where is that office located?
It is located at 81 Main Street, White Plains, New York.
Okay. This is the application 2-248. Julio Rizzo is the owner of the property located on a vacant parcel on Holly Lane in Valhalla, correct?
Correct.
Okay, section 117.1, block 2, lot 21, and the application is for a proposed area variance for 25 feet required street frontage set forth by Town Code 218-9. Is that correct?
That is correct.
And you're asking for a 25-foot variance, or
Correct.
100%
100%
variance?
variance. Correct.
Now, there is a right-of-way now?
That is correct. So there's been a right-of-way in that location since 1957. That right-of-way has been in place since at least 1975 when the home at 6 Holly Lane was constructed. So that driveway runs through our parcel as well as lot number 22, which fronts on Holly Lane.
The parcel in the front is owned by some other individual?
That is a separate entity, correct?
No relationship to Mr. Rizzo at all?
Correct.
Okay. But it's a right-of-way?
It is a right-of-way. It was conveyed by deed in 1957. We also have a 1974 easement agreement that makes reference to it, as well as a recorded map that was approved by the planning board in 1986.
All right, one of the, let me just see something here.
Can I just clarify something?
Yeah, wait, no, let me just finish up. We have a state law, 280. You
Correct.
familiar with that?
I am familiar with that.
Okay. That's a sticking point, in that an easement is not considered frontage on a street.
That is correct, but that does permit also variance by 267B, which brings us here to you before you today for an area variance. It does also define access as 15 feet in width as being sufficient. We do have 25 feet in this instance. It is improved, it is paved. So we feel that, given the circumstances, and I can go through each of the elements under 267B, but we feel that we do meet those requirements, and that the benefit to the applicant does outweigh the detriment, if any, to the community.
I'm going to be honest with you. In all the years that I've served on this board, longer than probably you've been practicing law, we've never given a 100% variance. Never. And the problem comes up with conflict between state law and town law. And state law supersedes town law. I'm not a lawyer. What we try to do here with the ZBA is, when the building inspector says no, we try to find some sort of thing. 267B, is it self-created? 99% of the time it's self-created. Does it have an effect on the community? Yes. Is it good or is it bad? Is there an alternate way? Which is the most important statement? Is there a way we can resolve this so that the applicant can still get something? Nobody walks out of here with a full loaf of bread. But at least to get whatever they want done, part of it done. I don't know in this case. I really don't. I'm going to reserve this to the other members of the board, okay?
Mr. Chairman, I have a clarification question, and then perhaps we could hear Sensabaum, Mr. Sensabaum?
Correct.
Perhaps we could just hear him go through the factors and, make his case before we ask questions. But can you, before we ask any further questions, obviously, not the chairman. Your client, does he own the house in the back?
He does.
And
So
the address of the house in the back is what? And
that is 6
that
Holly
is
Lane.
six. The address of the house in the front?
Is 3, I believe, Holly
Okay,
Lane.
so 6 is the one in the back, is correct?
Correct.
Okay. Perfect. Just wanted to clarify that. Thank you.
Not a problem.
Is the easement part of the overall lot area?
It
Or is
is.
it taken away from the lot area?
It is within the lot area itself. So in this instance, it's already created a lot. We're not asking to create the lot itself. The easement's been in place for, as I said, a number of years, since 1975 at least, so going on 50 years at a minimum. In this instance, in this case, nothing is changing by granting this variance. Anybody would still have to go back before the planning board to ensure there's no other impacts environmentally, should there have anything be built on this lot. So there are safeguards put in place, but in this instance, this lot is just shy of 10,000 square feet, or just over 10,000 square feet, so it meets the lot area requirement, but we do not have the frontage. The lot was already in this, it's been in play as its own single tax lot for a number of years. So the relief being granted here, allowing the lot to actually be constructed on and utilizing an easement that's already in place, that's already been constructed, I believe it's a significant benefit to the owner, and it's not something, it's unique. It's not something that's going to set a precedent for this board.
Well, one of the things that this board, some of the members of this board, in the past, we've had applications where, similar to this, in that there's a cell tower adjacent to the thing. Here you have something which is, you have high voltage lines running around that property. You got magnetic lines of flux. That's my field. All right, so you're like living in an MRI machine. That's concerning from a health point of view. The other concern is that people are taking every little parcel, whatever they have, quarter acre, half acre, whatever it is, and trying to develop it into another house. We put another house on the property. It's almost like saying if you've got a piece of property that's 100 by 200, we're going to cut the back off. I'm going to live in the front, and you're going to put a house up in the back. And that's what we're starting to see as a trend in housing. And a trend that's being pushed, which I don't particularly like, okay?
I don't disagree that it's happening, but in this instance, that we're not subdividing a parcel, the parcel's already there.
Yeah.
And this board has already allowed a house to be constructed on a lot that's even further up on the easement. We're midway at point on this easement, so, and we have rights via the deed to go to.
Did we allow that? When you said this board, like, was there,
Well, the town, I apologize, the town.
okay, so we didn't grant a variance or something?
No variances were granted on that.
For
in
the
that
house
instance.
we were
Correct.
applying currently, okay, just one. That
So
was
it's,
a flag for me when you said that this board allowed it. I wanted to
understood,
make sure.
understood. I apologize for any misunderstanding on that. So we already do have a house that's constructed off of this easement that's further up along the easement. The lot's already here. We're not asking for a subdivision. We're not asking to further subdivide here. It's otherwise a conforming lot in all aspects. We just would wish to be able to construct on this. I believe that was the intention when it was purchased, knowing that this lot does have access to Holly Lane via the easement. So we're here requesting relief from you, albeit 100%, but there really are no feasible alternatives at this point.
I'm going to ask you one last question. I'm going to put it up to the other members of the board.
Understood.
Who's responsible for the easement, maintenance, snowplow, et cetera?
It would be joint between the easement beneficiaries, so the
Lady in the front, or family in
rear.
the front?
those utilizing the easement.
They're responsible for that, their part of the easement, correct? And then you have the two lots in the back, and that person is responsible for the easement.
I would clarify, but I believe from my review of the documents that it would be the beneficiaries of the easement that would be responsible for the maintenance.
Who is, I'm sorry?
The beneficiaries of the easement, so lots,
Number 3 does not use the easement.
Correct,
Therefore, they don't
correct.
have to maintain it.
Yeah,
But
lots-
Number 6 uses the easement currently, so they have to maintain.
I guess the easiest way to put it, to try to distinguish this is, we're lot 21. Lot 20 is the furthest back utilizing the easement. Lot 22 fronts. Lot 20 and 21, I believe, are the responsible entities in terms of the maintenance, as they are also the ones that are utilizing that easement.
Okay. Mr. Travelli, you have any questions?
Yeah, do you know what district we're in?
This is the R10 zoning district.
Right. But you mentioned that 15 feet was also acceptable as an alternative to 25 feet of frontage, right?
Town law, in that statement, I was referring to New York State town law, not town code, but town law does state that accessible access, they actually defined access, and 15 feet is deemed suitable for emergency access.
Right.
In this case, that's distinguishable from what we're requesting here, which is the 25 feet requirement through the town code.
Right. But you do know that the town code is varies slightly. It says that 15 feet is allowable in the CNR district, CG, or M2. Right?
I understand that, yeah. But we unfortunately, we're not in those districts, so we have to request the full 25. I don't know the basis behind it. I'm not sure if the board has any insight as to why those are permitted at 15.
I
But-
wasn't around when they
Yeah.
wrote the town code, so.
But we do feel that this is suitable. It's been suitable for the existing structure that's been there since 1975 on what is Lot 20. And for those reasons, and because it's already existing, we believe that it would remain suitable for this site.
Could you share what Mr. Rizzo is going to do with the property?
I think that ultimately that what they would like to be able to do is have a single-family home put on that property. At this time, we're just trying to get the lot to be deemed buildable. So that's why we're before you with a vacant lot and just the survey. But there's no plan to do anything that would be otherwise not permitted within the R10 district. It'd be consistent with the district.
Thank you.
Do you have any other questions, Mr. DeChico?
Just want to know if you felt you needed any more time to go through the factors themselves, if you feel you have sufficient time to do that. If
yeah.
not, I don't know.
I'm fine with answering questions, and I feel like I've kind of gone through some of the factors already, but I can more explicitly do so if you'd like, and then answer more questions.
Can you address the impact on the house at 3 Holly Lane if this extra, if your application was granted?
Certainly. So there would be no impact really on that property. The easement already exists today. It's already been improved. We are only asking that we be granted this lot to be buildable, utilizing that exact same easement. So there's no difference in terms of paving over any portion of their property. There's not going to be traffic where there wasn't already traffic. And what would be proposed on this lot, that's permitted on this lot within an R10 district, would be a single-family home. It's a residential neighborhood. There'd be nothing more than just a single-family home
All
there.
right, so let's take it one step forward. So if we want to be very technical about it, the plain granting of this application doesn't necessarily change the dynamic, but the natural extension of this application, if granted, is that there's going to be a house in their backyard where there's currently trees.
Currently.
So, and where there's a house, so if you could address that impact and why that impact is outweighed by the other benefits that you're speaking of.
Certainly. So my client owns this property, is a otherwise buildable lot aside from the frontage. We're not proposing anything new in terms of a roadway that would be coming through on that easement. But that lot is a buildable lot. If it were not for the frontage issue, this is a buildable lot. There wouldn't be any more impact than there normally would be from any other neighbor within the R10 district. The single-family home that would come in, there may be a minor increase in traffic, I guess, from the people that may be living there, but we're not talking about anything that would be anywhere near significant, commercial or otherwise. The existing structure already has, the easement does have trees that do line the easement on the right-hand side, which abuts 3 Holly Lane. So there is some level of screening within that area, but overall, there should be negligible of any impact by the granting of this easement, of this variance. And if we were to build, we'd have to go back before planning board, so planning board would have to go through the secret process and ensure that there are no environmental impacts.
Mr. Dorr?
When we were there on Saturday, I noticed that easement, that driveway that they're being used for, is that gravel or is it macadam? I mean, what material is that to get all the way up to that back house?
I'd have to confirm. I believe a portion of it is paved. It is blacktop.
Okay. And then we also noticed that they were already clearing trees off of that lot on Saturday. There was a tree trimmer in there.
I trimmed a big tree in the driveway because it was rotted out.
Gentleman needs to be
last
sworn
that
if
we
he's gonna
had,
speak on the
that
record.
big branch that came down. And I still have pieces there from,
I could speak.
it was rotted.
I could speak, so it is on the record if that's what you're referring to here.
So
So there was a tree that was rotted out on the property that was near the driveway that was removed to prevent damage.
So they were removing trees from the vacant lot.
Actually in the middle of the driveway. I mean, it was a big lane going over the driveway. Yeah.
You gotta sway down.
Those when-
Yeah, from the last storm.
Jimmy, raise your hand. Testimony about to gives the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God. Okay.
From the last storm that we had, we had a big limb came down right in the driveway. We trimmed a big tree, it goes over the driveway, we cut the branch, it was rotted out, it was a big hole, in the center of the tree, and the one that we,
So you were pruning the tree, not
Yeah.
taking it down?
yes,
Because removing the trees off of the lot
Exactly.
is not approved.
yeah, we pruned the tree that was going over the driveway.
Okay.
Being that the limb that was so big, we ended up cutting one that it was on the lot.
All right.
So otherwise, we won't be able to trim it. The one that we trimmed, it was, huge,
Okay.
but we didn't cut that one down.
That easement, who owns that easement?
Well, the easement, the beneficiaries of the easement are
I
both,
didn't say the beneficiary, who owns it? Is it the lady in the front that owns that?
It-
Because it's going through her front yard, correct?
it does go through her front yard.
Right, so who
It-
owns that?
She owns the underlying property, but it's subject to an easement on that property. It's a legal recorded easement. It's within deed as well as filed maps. It is actually showing on the tax map as well for the town. But the underlying, fully answer your question, the underlying ownership of both 3 Holly Lane as well as the vacant lot, the easement runs below both of those lots. Or above, I should say. So the land below is owned by the
By the lady in the front.
lady in the front on her lot, as well as the applicant before you tonight under his lot.
Mr. Lapatos?
The first question I have is, when did your client or the owner of the proposed building lot, when did they purchase?
I believe they purchased in 2018.
So when they purchased the property, inarguably, they knew that it was not a developable lot at that point.
Well, they had an easement that did provide them access through,
That's not what I
so,
asked.
yeah.
Did they know that the lot couldn't be developed in its condition that they purchased?
They did not.
They did not know that? They thought that
I
a
believe-
landlocked lot was going to be buildable, and then they were surprised to find that it wasn't?
That's my understanding. I'd have to have the client come up and state that to have it for certain, but that's my understanding.
And did they buy the lot from a known party, or was it an open sale on MLS?
I'd have to have the client come up and answer your questions for you for that.
If you want to just confer with your client, maybe they could tell you.
Yes, so both lots were purchased together at the same time in 2018. Separate time, same owner. But it was conveyed with the understanding that it would be buildable.
An understanding?
She conveyed this stating that this would be a buildable lot. That's how.
The seller of the 2 lots, the one in the far rear and the lot that you're proposing to develop now, the seller of those lots to the current owner, your client, verbally advised that she believed when she sold the property that it was going to be developable as a 2-lot, 2 independent homes on 2 parcels of the land she was selling.
That's correct.
And-
They were already 2 separate parcels at that time. So it was
Was this seller living in the back house?
the prior owner of the property, yes.
So your position is that that your client was, in effect, an unknowing purchaser of a landlocked lot that couldn't be developed, and he understood that he could live in the home that was already on the far lot, and he anticipated developing the proposed lot from the time that he bought?
That's correct.
See, it just seems to me like an awfully huge risk to take based upon a comment made by a seller who has every interest in trying to promote the sale, and the lack of due diligence on the part of your client is shocking, but I'll accept it. It's just, it makes a very unfortunate situation. I mean,
Well, I'd have to go into the details of the transaction and get those details for you, speak.
I don't know if
to it.
they're going to enhance your argument. I feel bad for your client. I'll start with that. But secondarily, in terms of just going through the factors, I mean, there's no question whether or not your client was, in effect, duped by the seller into thinking that he could develop that lot without having to get any additional legal permit.
Even if he wasn't, that's not a distinguishing factor under the test.
No, I haven't gotten to the factors yet.
Yeah.
I'm going to, but I'm just pointing out the fact that I feel bad for your client. So that said, there's no argument that this is entirely self-created. Your client doesn't have to develop that second lot. He can leave it as a natural buffer. As it is right now, there are 2 homes that are in relatively close proximity, and the home that your client lives in is in effect what we call a flag lot. So it's a home behind a home. So there's a home that's currently occupied where that homeowner, in effect, has a rear yard that faces the front yard of another home. So what you're proposing, in effect, is to take now a 3rd home, and you're going to stick it between these 2 homes, and you're going to create what, in effect, would be something I've never seen before in this town, and I'm sure that if we looked, we wouldn't find any similar layouts, because it creates a visually unfortunate situation for the person, really for the two people that live in the front two homes. So as it stands right now, there's a flag lot with two homes. Adding a third home into that flag lot, making what in fact would be a double flag lot, is not something that's consistent with the character of the community here. I'm not sure it's consistent with the character of any community. But that said, this is without doubt entirely self-created by your client. So he wants to develop this lot, and the adverse impact that it would have upon the front neighbor, the one who faces the street, the one who owns the property that the easement is on, it would be significant in terms of the aesthetic impact. I mean, she's going to be having a very crowded situation involving visual impacts that I think would be significant. The fact that it's a 100% variance, obviously the substantiality is not in question. Your client doesn't have any other ability to develop this lot for profit other than building a house on it. They can enjoy it, they can use it for other positive uses, but as far as building a house on it, the profit that would be derived from that can't be achieved by any other means. Is that a fair statement?
That is a fair statement.
Okay.
But I don't want to get confused in terms of the public or anything, but we're not trying to create a second flag lot. That lot does already exist. We're just trying to be able to have the means to build upon that. That's all.
By making a double flag lot. I
Well,
mean, in effect, you recognize that there's going to be three houses, one behind the other, right?
Correct.
Okay, so-
But that's based upon lots that have already been created, lots that actually are to the standard for this development, this district. So the district does permit lots to be 10,000 square feet, so technically there could be lots that.
But we're not talking about the 10,000 square feet. Nobody's contesting the fact that you do have 10,000 square feet in an R10 you would be able to build, except you can't. And
Well,
the
the-
reason you can't is because you don't have any frontage.
I'm just stating as to the congestion point that you were making.
It's a significant congestion, would you agree?
Well, it's congestion that's permitted within the district.
All right.
It's,
You make
it's,
statements that are hard to just let go. That's not a very accurate statement.
homes upon 10,000 square foot lots within that district is what's
Legal and
legal and
perfectly
permitted,
appropriate.
yeah. That's what I'm trying to
When you
get
have
at.
all the other requirements met. It's the second part of that sentence that's the problem.
The frontage,
100% variance, the substantiality of that alone should set off all sorts of red flags. But the fact that it's going to create, again, a completely inconsistent layout for the community, there's a reason why we don't have double flag lots throughout the town, even when people do have 10,000 square feet of space that they otherwise could build upon. It's because it creates a significant negative impact aesthetically for people who live in that area. And I don't know if we've heard from people in the community yet, but we may, and they may share that view.
Well-
And I'll wait to hear from them, but I haven't heard anything from you that really addresses effectively the significance of that adverse impact, the inconsistency with the character of the neighborhood of this proposal, and the fact that your client got, in effect, unfortunately misled to believe that he could build on that lot when he bought. Again, I have a sympathy for it, but the lack of due diligence is somewhat shocking.
Well, again, the character of the neighborhood, I'll go directly to that. Character of the neighborhood will not change. The character of the neighborhood is already has an easement with flag lot. If we construct a home here on a lot that already exists, that the town already has on their tax map, we're not asking that you create that situation again. I know the town doesn't want flag lots. They do not permit flag lots, but this is already pre-existing.
It's
I
not
guess
that-
that's what I'm just trying to get at here is,
It's not that the town doesn't want flag lots. The fact is that they create a situation that is displeasing to people who live in the area of them. So we're sensitive to that fact. And again, in this case, there's a requirement of the town law that prohibits exactly what it is that your client's attempting to do. So you're coming here with an ask, and I'm trying to evaluate it based upon the criteria that are applicable, and it fails it fails miserably on 3 of the 5. But that said, I'm not asking you to make wine out of water, but if there's anything more that you could add to assuage my concerns that this is going to create a visually obtrusive and entirely inconsistent layout for the community, I wish you could.
Well, the visual impact would be addressed at the planning board level. We don't have any proposed plans before you to build. The,
It's going to be an above-ground house? It's not going to be subterranean?
no, sir.
Okay. I don't think there's anything that is going to change with the planning board, but
I don't believe it's not good at planning. Why would it not good at planning? For a single family home we have. It's a 10,000 square foot lot. Permitted, you still have frontage. The planning board will not be allowed. Unless there's steep slopes.
Either way, I don't know that. Either way. Okay. Should we hear from members of the community?
Well, we're going to
And
get to
then
that in a minute. Is there anyone here for or against this application?
We'll give Mr. Sensabaum a chance to reply at the end.
All right. I did receive an email from a Joseph Targiani, and I'll read it for the record. My comment on the proposal for Holly Lane is that the board should deny the variance. Not every lot needs to be built upon, especially if it doesn't meet the current building standards. One of the reasons my family moved to this area is because space and openness between homes. There's no need to overdevelop the area. This is a comment. The concerns, like I said, we're creating something that, we're creating a third lot. And there's nothing, how can I say, there's nothing stopping somebody later on coming in and saying, you know what, I have a similar thing, and therefore I'm going to do the same thing. But the problem is we have conflicts between state law and town law and county law. There's constant conflicts. And like I mentioned before, in all the years I've served on this board, both as chairman and as member, and even prior to that, we've never approved a variance where there wasn't an access to the road. And you don't have that with the right-of-way. All right? Leave it to the members of the board. If we want to make a decision, what do we want to do on this?
Chairman, I think we should see if anybody wants to speak.
Oh, we did. There's nobody here who's...
I don't know if we asked.
All right.
Okay.
Who's here for Bradhurst? There you go. All right.
Mr. Chairman, I still think we should maybe defer to the session subsequent to the open community participation.
Well, we can. I asked if there's anyone here for or against this application, and nobody's standing up. So we have a choice. Either we approve, deny, or adjourn.
Well, I would agree that we should talk about it in business session.
Okay.
Business session.
All right. So what we'll do at the end of this meeting, we'll hold a business session, and we'll discuss it. Unfortunately, you cannot participate. All right?
It's open.
It's open.
Sorry.
You want changing the rules. If it's a business session, there's no open dialogue with the applicant.
Mr. Chairman, I meant open in the sense that we have our business session up here where people could listen in, open, not.
Oh,
open
okay,
session.
fine.
I apologize.
All right. Do we want to have a business session now? Do you want to
I'm going to ask that we adjourn the business session to the end of the meeting.
okay,
Yeah, reserved for the end.
all right.
Certainly, if the applicant wants to further be heard, I have no problem if you want to present anything additional, but...
I mean, I think at this time, I mean, there have been some questions that I'd like to get some answers to, so I can actually adequately answer the questions for you as to the history of the property. So in that instance, I would request that there would be an adjournment, given that the feedback that I've received so far from the board. I'd like to at least have a full record and answer the questions that you do have before you make that decision.
So you'd like an adjournment to the next meeting?
I would like to do that, yes, please.
All right.
Mr. Chairman,
Those in favor of the adjournment? Do I have it? Aye.
Aye.
Okay.
Thank you.
So it's adjourned for the next one.
Thank you.
I'm going to pronounce this wrong, but bear with me. Sam Solberg? It's Swedish, but I'm not sure. There you go. You can use that over there. Raise your right hand, please. Testimony about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes.
Okay. You are?
Matthew Grant with Grant Architects.
And where are you located?
Just the address or the
No,
office?
where your office is.
Oh, 330 Railroad Ave, Greenwich, Connecticut.
Where's?
Greenwich, Connecticut.
Oh, Greenwich, Connecticut, okay. This is a premises located at 261 Marietta Avenue in Hawthorne, correct?
Correct.
On the tax map, it's section 112.14, block 1, lot 6, and the application is for a proposed two-story addition to an existing single-family dwelling on a, I don't like the word substandard, but 7,500 square foot lot.
Yeah, it's an undersized lot.
An R10 zone, yeah.
Yeah.
Doesn't sound right.
Yes.
Now, there's three variances that are requested. Required 30 feet on the front, 29 and a half is existing, proposing 29 and a half, variance is half a foot.
Yeah, 6 inches.
Side yard setback 12 feet, existing is 7 and a half, proposing 7 and a half, 4 and a half foot variance.
Correct.
Combined side yards, 33 feet required. You have 24 and a quarter, proposing 24 and a quarter, and that's an 8 3/4 foot variance.
That's correct.
This is going to be a second story.
Excuse me?
Second story going
Yeah,
up.
there's a second story addition, yes.
It's not the existing footprint of the first story of the house now,
No, we are
are the
adding,
requirements that are shown on the variance.
correct.
Okay. So you're going to add a second story onto this property.
That's correct.
You're not,
We are expanding the footprint.
but above the basic.
Yeah, so
floor.
we're adding a small addition, 5.5 feet off the left side, south side of the property.
Where the deck is.
Correct.
Okay.
And-
And where that deck is, that's what, about 4 feet, 5 feet wide?
Yes.
Okay. So this is, actually what you're doing is, I believe there was an overhang, the
Yeah.
roof overhang, so you're going to the,
We're going
roof-
just past that roof overhang.
okay.
We're taking down the existing roof. Obviously, it's a mid-century modern, built in 1965. We're going to bring it in more in context with the surrounding neighborhood. It pivots us based on that in terms of livability, because it's the split level. So instead of going out to the northwest to provide a primary suite and expanding the additional living and kitchen area, which would be more detrimental to the surrounding neighbors, because the sediment.
Take it with you, there you
Yeah.
go.
So we did explore other options for this addition to extend. It's only a 1,000 square foot house,
Right.
Livable area. We explored providing an addition in this area here, decommissioning a bedroom, providing a hall, a closet in order to have access into a primary suite. We still need a variance for it, and we would probably have to get a fourth variance for area coverage, building development. So we fell within the more subtle approach by adding a 3.75, 3'9" addition off the back, which would be on piers, not a typical, poured foundation and a continuous spread footing. And then a 5.5 foot addition here, so we can expand the existing kitchen, provide an appropriate dining room, and then provide internal stairs up to a primary suite.
How far beyond the existing roof line on the left facing the house are you going?
How far beyond the existing roof line?
Yeah,
2 feet.
2 feet. Okay. And you're not expanding the deck?
No.
on the side?
The only
stays?
thing, we're keeping the deck, we're eliminating the deck here in the front.
Okay.
We're keeping the width here as access to a new deck in the back.
All right. I have no further questions. Mr. Travella?
I'll hold comment for the moment.
So,
Go ahead.
to be clear, because on the notice,
Mhm.
the setbacks from existing to proposing are not changing.
That's correct.
That's because it's based off the deck.
Correct. There is a room underneath the deck now. I'm not sure if you guys walked it on the 9th.
We walked.
There is a foundation underneath the deck, so I
didn't
kept
go
the
in back- I
setback.
didn't go in the backyard.
Yeah, sorry. So this area here that's dashed here in the gray, or hatched in the gray, there is actually a room there underneath.
Okay, so when you say you're expanding the house,
Mhm.
usually that means the setbacks are changing.
Right.
But it's not changing in this scenario because the deck is staying in the same place. So the
Correct.
physical, what looks like the physical part of the house is being moved, but not as far to the deck line.
Correct.
So that's why the house, the main structure of the house is expanding, but the deck is staying, is not moving, so that's why the setbacks aren't moving.
That's correct.
Okay, fine. Thank you.
All right. Mr. Dorr?
So that cave, you're calling a room,
Yeah.
'cause some of us did walk around the back, Nick.
It's deteriorating. We plan on removing it and utilizing it
Yeah,
when we
because
proposed.
It looked like there was some prior foundation in front of that under the existing deck.
Correct, and we can't, rely on what's there, so we're planning on replacing it in kind.
So is that room being enclosed?
That room is being closed and being utilized as storage because, it's a very small lot, undersized for an R10.
So this part back here that you're extending out of the, off the houses, like you said, off of piers?
Yep, correct.
So it's.
So we'll maintain the same access underneath, it'll be in the same elevation line.
And just out of curiosity,
Hmm?
the tree that's in that area, is that gonna get affected?
This tree is, I believe it's like right in this area here.
Somewhere in there?
Yeah, it likely will, we'll have to remove it,
Okay.
yeah. It's actually, right next to the stairs that are here.
It's pretty close,
Yeah,
that's why I was
yeah.
curious. 'cause
Yeah, and it's tight, we're gonna need to get a small machine back there as well.
I just want to compliment the fact that you did explore another location on the property for the expansion of the existing home. I do appreciate the fact that it wasn't feasible, and significantly, I think, because it would require a fourth variance. That said, also, the variances that you're seeking are existing. Insignificant percentage from what's required by the code, and I have no further questions. Thank you.
It's this orange line. This is your front elevation. Here.
Is there anyone present for or against this application? You already have one.
You mind if I add one?
Sure, go right ahead. Be my guest.
Bringing a fan.
All right, take your time.
Can you see that from up there? See these things down here?
When they're down there,
No.
when they're up there, we can.
Why don't you just put it on the
You can't?
display stand, we'll get an idea.
What are we, waiting for somebody else?
No. We're all set.
You all set? Raise your right hand, please. Okay. Testimony about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God.
I do.
And you are?
David Sessions. David Sessions.
Right, and you're with?
I am with KSCJ Consulting. We're the engineers, landscape architects, and planners.
And where are you located?
We're located in Armonk, New York.
Okay. So, application 2410 is the Brighton Avenue Properties. They're the owners of the premises located on a vacant parcel on Bradhurst Avenue in Hawthorne, New York.
Correct.
On the tax map, it's section 112.9, block 1, lot 3. The application is currently seeking planning board approval for the application of a lot line change, steep slope, and site plan for the development of the vacant land to support the construction of a new 3,000 square foot landscape supply storage barn of 200 square feet. Modular office building, new access driveway at the Bradhurst Avenue, Brighton Avenue intersection, and there are two basic variances, I think.
Correct.
Yeah, one variance, minimum distance of the main structure, and the second one is the accessory building height.
I think you've got it.
It's all yours.
Do you want me to take you back to the beginning? I'll try to be brief, but,
I'd like as much of a,
Okay.
I'd like you to go into as much detail as you can.
That's fine. Just as an intro, we've been before the planning board for steep slope site plan 3 times now. We've gone back and forth with the town planner and the town engineer. Can't hear? Is this better? No.
I don't think that's,
How about now?
Is there a button on there?
Check, check. Check.
Working for the gentleman before that.
you never know what's gonna
I
happen.
can speak louder if that helps.
No, give it a moment.
Defective equipment.
It's-
This week I was told you are like.
Jack, 1, 2.
Thank you.
We're all set? Okay.
Okay. We've been before the planning board on 3 different occasions now. We've had comments from both the town engineer and the town planner. The planning board did not want to refer this application over to your board until the town engineer and the town planner were satisfied with all of their technical concerns. We have satisfied them. We also need a New York State DOT curb cut permit for the proposed driveway, which I'll get into later, but we have had positive feedback from DOT. They've now accepted our proposed location, which, by the way, is also an existing location of a former curb cut. I'll deal with that. But so we're on board with the DOT. They have not issued the approval. We're in the process of dealing with the paperwork and insurance and contractors, but they've accepted the location. So the planning board didn't want to refer it to your board until not only the town engineer and town planner were satisfied, but the DOT was satisfied. So we've got those ducks in a row, so here we are tonight. So the applicant owns two pieces of property. I don't know. Anyway, two pieces of property. The smaller property located here is Lot 3, and that's about 24,000 square feet, and that is in the neighborhood retail district. The second property, known as Lot 2, is in the R10 residential district. Bradhurst is located here, Brighton is located here, and Jackson Avenue here, and these are the existing adjacent residences to the west. Lot 3, as I mentioned before, was previously developed with a driveway curb cut, which is here, coming back to a dwelling. There was a garage, utilities, water and sewer.
You want to try without it? Let's go really loud.
I hear oscillations of his feedback on it.
Maybe a volume thing. Probably doesn't have to be that loud. Anyway, this was developed, I think, pre-1950 with a house, dwelling, driveway, and so on and so forth. It's been since removed, but the disturbance remains. There's an open swath of land in the middle of this property, and some invasive trees, ailanthus and some locust have repopulated the area. But for the most part, it's a vacant piece of property now. The proposal, as you mentioned, is to build two structures, the larger being the landscape supply storage barn, and the smaller structure being the modular office building. The landscape storage barn, you cannot build without a primary structure. In other words, this zoning district needs an accepted primary structure, which is an office use. It's one of many uses that can be built on this property. But in prior meetings with the town, it was suggested that we consider doing either a temporary and/or permanent modular office building, which would take care of the primary structure, and then the accessory structure would be the storage barn. The two variances that are required have to do with the height of the proposed storage barn and the proximity of the storage barn to the primary use, which is the modular office building. So variance number 1, a 12-foot minimum distance is required between the two buildings. There are a lot of reasons why we've located this building so close to this building, and that is, one of the reasons is the lot is extremely narrow. The proposed use has trucks, some trailers that come in and out, in the morning, leaves in the morning, comes back at the end of the day, and there are turnaround requirements. And we have, as part of the town engineer and the DOT's requirements, we were charged with showing 40 to 45-foot trucks entering the site, coming in, making turnarounds, just to make sure that all of the circulation works. especially with a fire truck, fire apparatus. So we had to do that. And the combination of the parking on both sides that's required and the truck turnarounds, it's a very narrow site. We needed this area here for a truck turnaround. We also need the area in front of the buildings, and this is per the town engineer, to temporarily store personal vehicles while the business vehicles are being pulled out in the morning. In other words, the workers would arrive in their own vehicle. The construction vehicles would be parked in the parking space already. So you've got to get the construction vehicle out temporarily, park your personal vehicle, and then pull the construction vehicle out. So we needed storage space, and this was a town engineer requirement that we provided here. So the proximity of this turnaround is very important in that location. If we were to move the modular office building any further away, the circulation wouldn't work. So that was a primary reason why this little turnaround had to be there, which means that the temporary office building is a lot closer to the storage barn. So that was really a circulation and an engineering issue that we've resolved, at least internally, with the town engineer. So that's the primary reason why these have to be so close together. Now, I'm going to kind of segue into the second variance, but the fact of the matter is the storage barn is approximately 3,000 square feet. The applicant would much prefer to have a larger building. They have a lot of storage material, although they do need the middle of the floor in that storage area to not only store and park vehicles, but they basically load the vehicles in the morning from within the building itself. In addition, if there's any minor maintenance that needs to be done on the vehicles, they're probably going to be doing it inside because, people don't want to see people working on cars or trucks outside, so we're trying to be respectful. We'll try to put it inside the building. So we need the middle of this building to be kept open. And the applicant also has a facility down in the Bronx, and they've done this before, and they know that the perimeter of the building is very important, and the height is very important, because that's where they store their materials, that's where they store their equipment. So, they would love to be able to expand this and put the office actually within the barn, but they just literally don't have enough floor space in the barn. So at this point, the proposal is to, for lack of a better way to describe it, try the modular office building out for a year or two. If they've determined that they really don't need 100% of the space inside, they would consider eliminating this and building it somewhere inside. And then this would be reworked. Now, the applicant understands that he would have to come back to your board, I think your board, but maybe the planning board, so that this would then be the primary building as opposed to the accessory building. So anyway, a lot of history there. But the fact of the matter is this building is, and I'm segueing into the second variance now, the second variance is an accessory building cannot be more than 15 feet in height. Now, the truth of the matter is, even though this is labeled as an accessory building, it really is the primary building, but it's being deemed the accessory building because the office has to be deemed the primary in this case. Now, you're allowed up to 2.5 stories and 35 feet in height for a primary building or anybody's house in a residential district, right? That's per code.
Correct.
35 feet high, 2.5 stories. This building's only 27 feet high to the ridge and essentially 1 story. So even though it's an accessory building, even though it exceeds the 15-foot height for an accessory building, it's still 8 or 9 feet lower than a typical home that could be built. Just to put it in perspective.
Can I ask you a few questions?
Sure.
You say they have they have a facility in the Bronx.
Yes.
I know kind of straight off by Co-op City. Near the bus company? Near the bus company garage over there? Okay, I know where you are. Like a motel there. I grew up over there. Yeah. One of the things that goes through my mind, I know it's out of our jurisdiction, but I have to bring it up. The access coming out of that, you mentioned trucks. Now, we're talking dump trucks, or we're talking tractor-trailer trucks?
We're not talking tractor-trailer trucks. The planning board has asked this many times, and rightfully so. The largest vehicle, and Mark will correct me if I'm wrong, is a combination of a pickup truck with a residential or a landscaping type trailer. We're not talking semis, we're not talking anything longer than 40 or 42 feet combined.
Okay. My other question is, when we were out there on Saturday, you have very limited sight distance coming out of that driveway.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes?
Mr. Chairman, can people in the audience, you're going to have your chance to talk. Right now, you can't speak. Let them speak, you'll have your opportunity. Thank you.
If that road was inverted, right now it's like a curve, you really can't see anybody coming. All right? You can put a sign up saying, hey, here's the driveway. Nobody reads it. We have speed limits in town at 30 miles an hour, but the school buses do 40 going down Columbus Avenue. We also have, since we have the Amazon building up, we have employees getting off the train at Hawthorne and walking on that area to get to the building. We also have, it's not 1950, but that's a heavily traveled road. You got commercial and private cars coming off of 9. You have people coming down off of Bradhurst. You got people coming through Brighton. So when you come out of that driveway, all right, and you got a St. Christopher medal on you hanging on your windshield, he's going to drop the kid and run. It's dangerous. And I don't know who approved that sight distance thing, but it might have either been Ray Charles or Stevie Wonder, because people don't travel at 30 miles an hour. And the reason I say that is, I had to go into the city and I had to drive on the Sawmill that has a 50-mile-an-hour speed limit. I was at 6 o'clock in the morning, I'm in the right-hand lane doing 70, trying to keep up with the car in front of me, and everybody on the left lane were passing me as if I was going backwards. So these street signs or speed limits are just suggestions. And the way people drive in a lot of areas, police are afraid to go out on the road.
Understood.
Yeah. That's a big concern for me, and it's for other people in the community. Someone's going to get hurt. Okay? And that bothers me. You know, we make plans within the zoning board. We say, okay, we can do this, we can do that, do a lot of things.
Okay.
But this is tough.
No, I totally appreciate it, and I've been out there, I can't tell you how many times. Right now, the existing sight distance, what you're seeing as we speak, is about 135 to 140 feet of sight distance. Now, the DOT measures it from 3.5 feet off the pavement to an object 3.5 feet off the pavement as you're looking at it. That's what you're seeing now. We went through several alternatives with the planning board, several alternatives with the DOT. As I said before, this was an existing curb cut, and it was probably here for a reason 60, 70, 80 years ago for the same reason.
For a single-family home.
Correct. No. I'm going to get there.
single-family home,
No, I understand. I'm going to get there.
Less traffic.
We've gone through several alternatives. We've cut back the site. You probably can't see it from there, but there is significant grading that we've cut back, and we've proposed a retaining wall along here to create a corridor right here, this little white strip, which is not here in the existing condition. We've increased the site distance another 100 feet based on this grading plan, based on the planning board and the town engineer's recommendations, and the DOT. This is, as you know, this is a state road. They have the ultimate jurisdiction as to whether or not something's going to be approved.
Right.
But so the bottom line is, we have improved this as much as possible, and it's now upwards of about 240 or 245 feet, which is reasonable. That, in addition to the required signage that DOT has made us install as well.
Right, because if you're traveling 30 miles an hour, you're traveling at 33 feet per second.
Yes.
Okay.
Now, the good news, well, good news. Interesting news is, this is the more limited sight distance than looking that way. Vehicles approaching the site, this is an average of anywhere from 6 to 10% of an incline as you're headed south toward this intersection. And that was an important factor for the DOT and for the town engineer, for that matter. If this was coming downhill, obviously it's a lot more difficult to stop a vehicle when you're going downhill, whether you're going 30 or 40 or 50. But since it's uphill, it's extremely helpful. That, in addition to the signage, but more importantly, in addition to the grading and the retaining wall that we're providing here, gives you upwards of 240 plus feet of sight distance, which is very reasonable.
It's about 8 seconds.
Yeah, a lot better than what you can see out there now. You go out there now, and I agree with you. You look and you say, wow, this is not good. It will look a lot different.
Now, you're only showing the vehicles coming and making a right turn to go in. You're not showing a vehicle coming down Bradhurst, making a left turn to go in, or coming through Brighton.
Yeah, we have,
You got multiple, because you have multiple intersections there, plus the gas station.
no, I understand. We've also got multiple turning radius from every angle, which, to be honest, I didn't bring to the zoning board, but we had to prove to the DOT and the town engineer. We do have, in fact, this turn coming in this direction is an easy turn to make, much easier than this turn, because this turn is actually more than, 90 degrees. So this was the critical turn that they were all interested
It's
in.
about 135 degrees.
Not the one coming down. But, so again, I totally appreciate it. If you go out there now and you look, it's not good. What we are proposing is extremely, much better, much safer, in addition to the sign, in addition to the grade coming uphill. It was satisfactory to the town engineer and to the DOT. So I appreciate it. It's not a perfect situation.
You're going to store materials outside?
No.
What side of materials you store inside?
What types of materials?
Yes.
Mark, you can probably, what types of materials might we store
If he's gonna
inside?
answer, you should.
No, I just want, it's okay.
Oh, you want to come up?
Raise your right hand, please. Testimony about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God. Okay.
Okay, we really don't store, we're not a supplier, we're not a retailer, we're a maintenance company, landscape company. So we don't believe in storing a lot of supplies as far as fertilizers, things like that. It's a waste of money. We have suppliers within a couple of miles of the facility that we just go get what we need. It's mostly equipment, machinery, lawn mowers, anything that you could put on snow plows, anything you could put on pallet racks. That's pretty much what we store in the building. So we don't buy in bulk. We don't buy fertilizers in bulk, seed in bulk, nothing like that. We don't retail. We don't resell. We don't store gravel. We don't store concrete, nothing like that.
All right, and so inside you can probably have a forklift that's going to elevate the
Yes.
products onto shelving.
This is exactly what we do in the Bronx. We have, pallet racks secured all around the perimeters so that our trucks can park inside. They can get loaded inside. It's nice and clean, it's quick, easy, and everything is off the floor so that you gain all that floor space in the building.
Mr. Sabella, do you have any questions?
For Mr. Sessions, did you explore putting the modular building over to the left where those spots are, per se, or anywhere else?
Yeah.
Batavia, if you will.
We did. And again, it had to do with the circulation, the turnaround. You'll see that the site, you see how it kind of necks down as you move south, the width?
Right.
And by the way, what you don't see on this plan, there is a very steep embankment back here, so it's not as though you can kind of push things back. So the further you move the building back, you've got less area for the trucks to make their maneuvers. You need this turnaround. See, if you push this further back, then this turnaround area would be kind of over here, and you're diminishing, and these are spaces too, two very long spaces right here. So we had to do our analysis based on all of these spaces being occupied. See, there are spaces here that are occupied. So this is, and these spaces technically would be occupied. So there's not a lot of width here. So if this turnaround area was shifted further down, it just wouldn't work. It's too squeezed in this area. It had to be as far over, closer to the building, so that you've got the maximum amount of width in the property.
Right, so the truck wouldn't be able to get past the building at all,
That's correct.
because
And
most cars are on the other side.
that's right. And this area, I don't know if you can see in red, was a requirement of the town engineer and the town planner, and rightfully so, is a good suggestion, that this has to be left open as well because of the temporary cars coming out, just staging here while they pull the other, right? So this had to be avoided as well. So this, we needed the width. That's basically
Right.
the reason.
And on your model there, what's going on in the back, to the right side of the barn?
Here?
Yeah, now, for a truck coming in, it looks like it's turning there as well. What's the point of that?
Yeah, just if an emergency vehicle had to get back there, ambulance or something, if they're pulling straight in, we had to prove that it could actually turn around and pull back straight out as opposed to backing all the way out. And we're showing 2 roll-off dumpsters back here, and there'll be garbage pickup once a week or whatever, and that truck also had to get back here. We had to show that it would turn around successfully back there. Sure.
Mr. DeChico?
Yes, sir, I have several questions. The notice indicates that you're seeking a lot line change. Can you discuss that, show where that is, and say how that affects the application for the new lot?
Sure. Okay. So this is the existing condition plan, and this is that lot 2. This is lot 3. What we are proposing is to take this lot line and move it, or eliminate it essentially, so that the retail lot is extended to this property line. So now, the new shape of the retail lot would be that. And again, this was a setback issue. We were, and this is the reason why Mark would like to widen the building, but he just couldn't, because we need 50 feet from the street line to here and 30 feet from the rear line to there.
So to be clear, this is what I wanted to make sure I was clear about, that the plans as you've presented them, whether they're good plans or bad plans or somewhere in between, they're dependent on the lot line being moved. Like what you've been showing us tonight needs that lot line to be moved for that to work.
Well, without another variance. We would then need another rear yard variance
Sure.
by a few feet. But yeah, I mean, we could fit the buildings and we could fit everything, we could fit everything on the lot.
You would need to,
We would need another
so,
variance.
okay, so as proposed tonight, what you've shown us does not work without the lot line being moved.
In this,
Okay.
yeah, that is correct.
Okay.
Without a variance, yes.
Without a variance? so-
Yes,
Which it hasn't been asked for as we sit here right now because you.
Correct.
Okay.
yep.
So the plot of land that you've called the lot 2, the one in the front,
This one?
sorry, the lot 3, the one closer to Brighton.
Yep.
With no changes to the lot line, with no variances, what could your client build there as of right today? What types of things could he build if he wanted to?
Okay. I have the answer to that.
Okay, great. I wasn't trying to trick you. I was just trying
No.
trying to make
I-
a record as to, so it's for, also for community knowledge as well.
Absolutely.
I think it's important for the community to understand
Okay.
what could be built
Yep.
without any variances whatsoever.
Okay. Permitted principal uses in the CNR district, which is this district. One-family dwellings, churches or other places of worship, public elementary and high schools, railways, public passenger stations, playgrounds, parks, libraries, firehouses, police stations, public swimming pools, municipal, state, national historic museums, stores for sale of retail goods, which can include, you can imagine what retail goods are, right? Runs the gamut.
A mini mall.
A mall.
A mini strip mall.
A strip mall, exactly. Businesses, professional offices, banks, restaurants, cafes, or buildings serving food and beverages, parking lots for transient vehicles. Permitted special uses on this property in this zoning district. Private schools, nursery schools, gas stations, tourist homes, showrooms for car sales and service facilities, retail stores, strip mall, medical care, treatment for household pets, massage establishments, arrays of ground-mounted solar panels, hospitals, public utility
Let me ask
substations.
you to stop it.
Two more.
Two more, that's it.
The New York Mets no, I'm kidding. Water supply facilities and nursing homes.
All right. So thank you for putting that on the record. A few more things. I know you've spoken at length about the driveway or the ingress egress point that was there from 50 years ago or whatever it was. And I've spoken at length about different alternatives, but the natural effect of this now in its current state is that ingress and egress point happens to be very close to a residence that's currently there. Whereas before, when the house was there 50 years ago, maybe that wasn't such a big deal. But the proposed use now, I think you would have to acknowledge, does impact that resident and substantially change his perhaps daily quality of life in one way, shape, or form. So, did you discuss any other ability to have a driveway anywhere else, or at least maybe even a one-way in or one-way out, or to move it away from that person's house?
We have. Absolutely, we have. This was the primary focus of not only the DOT's analysis of this application, but the town engineer and the town planner's analysis. How can we get this to have better sight distance and better, well, the DOT wasn't all that interested in the proximity to the residents, but the reason why this old curb cut was there, they knew what they were doing because it provided the best sight distance. Now, again, proximity to the neighbor is a different story, but it was a health, safety, welfare issue moving that driveway further north. This was the safest location along the frontage of this property. And we, we were required to do it. We would have done it anyway. We've got a pretty robust landscaping plan along the entire western property line. We met with, or Mark met with a few of the neighbors even before we made application and said, look, this is what we're planning. He would be willing to plant as many evergreens anywhere on the neighbor's property that would have given them a better buffer. We could have planted right along the property line. It just wouldn't have given them as good a screen because frankly, the houses are 20 to 30 to 35 feet higher than the site itself. So the closer the evergreens to the house, the better the screen. The neighbors, came to a meeting and said, we would rather not do that. We don't want you to plant on our property. We said, that's fine. We gave them the option. And now the landscaping plan is essentially.
So you're gonna keep the landscape, the screening that you're proposing is gonna be on your side of the.
On our property.
So one more question. How long, if you know, has your client owned the plots of land at issue here?
Have you owned a year and a half?
About a year,
About a year.
approximately.
That's lot 2 and 3?
Both, yep. And you can see, I don't know if you had an opportunity to take a look at the site sections. We did do cross sections through some neighbors' properties into the property, and you can see the elevation difference. This is the parking lot. This is a representative house. This is our proposed building. So it slopes down, and we're proposing that evergreen screening right here along the property line.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate it.
Sure.
Mr. Dorr?
Okay, I'm going to come from a different angle here. I'll first address to the chairman's point, just to the public if they don't already realize it. You come around that bend, we have Amazon around the corner that's highly lit. There's already been a fatality, and that facility hasn't been up and running for more than 2 months of somebody in a well-lit area. So we're very cognizant of the DOT and all that site visit and stuff, but that's not what you're here for. That's already been approved. That's a different board. You're here for 2 other variances, one being distances between the 2 structures and then the height. So going forward, I've been up here for over 35 years. When was there last a structure on this parcel? Does anybody know? Because according to other records that we have, it doesn't show any building cards or anything. You can't speak. He can.
I don't know the specific date. I will tell you that we received from the town engineer's office old plans that showed, and that's why we had, well, it's not on one of these plans, but we had showed the outline of where the house was, where the sewer main was, based on the engineering
plans. When we were there
plans.
Saturday in site visit, I mean, it's not actually a piece of property that we're going to walk around right now because it's obviously still very forestry, if you want to put it that way. You can see this foundation, staircase, and stuff like that. Like I said, I've been here for 35 years, and I haven't been there. So I'm very cognizant of the neighborhood having gotten used to an area that hasn't had a structure on it. Unfortunately, it is what it is. That piece of property in that zone is commercial, as it is across the street. Everybody's gotten used to it, so we have to take that into account when we look at our decisions. My question is, you're changing this line, and I know you've gone in front of the planning board, but by changing that line and taking what looks like on there a flag lot to get up to the second lot, first lot, whichever you want to call it, does that encroach into the R10 zone? So that red line, you've got the shaded.
Yes.
You go up to get to that where you're changing a line, does that change into an R10?
Yes. No, the zone does not change. The line encroaches into the R10 zone. The town planners and the planning board had asked this question, and it's a good one. And the town planner assured us and assured the planning board that although it is now, the line is in the R10 zone, as long as there's no structures being proposed in there, it is not an issue.
So it's still ruled, and the only reason I'm asking this is because the building inspector had to leave, and so it's still, we're still by the commercial zoning rules that we have to go by.
Correct.
Okay.
As it turns out, if it matters, the rear yard setback, whether it's I think this is correct, whether it's the R10 zone or the retail zone, I think they're both 30 feet. So, I mean, it's from that perspective, it's
So-
irrelevant.
I know we have the distance, the 12 feet minimum between the two structures. Now, the one structure is you're saying modular, but it's actually a trailer from what was submitted in the paperwork I looked at. So it's something that can be moved.
It can be moved.
It's a module that you would see on a job site and everything else. I mean, I saw the renderings.
It'll be more
Nice,
attractive than that,
aesthetically attractive.
but yes.
But what I'm saying is, it's not a permanent structure per se.
It might be, but it doesn't have to be. In fact, I think yes,
So
that's
the
correct.
point is, the structure that's being proposed is being proposed because of a cost factor.
Not necessarily a cost factor. You're talking about the modular structure being proposed.
The primary structure that this accessory building is being associated with.
Yes. It's because there's not enough available floor
No, no,
space.
no. Stay with the office.
Yep,
The office is basically a trailer that's being made to look pretty,
yeah.
okay? Is there a reason why it's a trailer and it can't just be a stick building with a foundation and
Oh,
everything else?
okay. Because it very well might go away. Again, he is going to, if he's got his approvals, he's going to build both. If he feels that he's got enough room in that barn to build something out within the barn, for an office and a bathroom and thing, he'll get rid of that and build it in the barn. Right now, they don't think they can do that. They need all the floor space they possibly can have in this building.
So in essence, that doesn't have to be there. It can go away.
If there's an office use in the barn,
If it's a very small but powerful work.
well,
You follow what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I mean, why not come in front of us with a plan for a structure that encompasses all of it so you don't need that variance?
because he doesn't think this would work, eating up another couple of hundred square feet in that building. He's squeezed as it is, and you'd have to lose 200 square feet of floor space in there if this was inside the barn. So he's starting off, look, we'll build, and that's why it's, yeah.
We're conscious that we don't want to have a lot of stuff outside, so we want to make sure that we have enough storage inside the building, because we don't want visible, storage outside. So we know that that's a sticking point, and we want to try to just maximize as much space inside the building as we can. And just knowing how my building is in the Bronx, you run out of room pretty fast.
If I can clarify, just to follow up Mr. Doerr's point, if you didn't have the trailer for the office space, would you even need to be requesting any variances at all? Because the barn would be the main structure.
But the barn would have to have an office component within it.
Yeah, but I'm saying, so if you made an office within the barn, if you took out the trailer, made an office space within the barn, for sake of argument,
Yep.
would you need any of these variances that you're requesting?
No.
And you could build as of right?
Yeah.
Because before, you can go up to 35 feet.
35 feet, 2.5 stories.
Right now, the two variances are one distance between two structures, and the one is a 27-foot height.
Yeah.
Now, we didn't measure it, but across the street is the canopy for the gas station, which is probably a little bit lower, but, and I understand the requirement of being able to get high and stack equipment inside. I
Yeah.
totally understand.
Yeah.
And it's kind of, you're looking for a variance when you also can say you can build something 35 feet high. So I'm
I
trying
know.
to educate and move along the same way.
I know, it's a unique situation. Now,
It creates a mess too. Everything is, I'm shocked that the planning board went along with the idea of moving all the cars, backing up to pull all the cars in, to then pull all the cars out. I've seen that before in various things. What winds up happening is that the cars just wind up parking everywhere, and it creates a mess over time, even though that's not the intent. You know, that's not
Yeah.
our board's issue specifically, but it's a realistic concern.
Yeah. One thing that I wanted to mention earlier and I didn't, and there's been talk of this being a construction yard, and photographs were circulated to the town of other facilities, and it's going to look like this. First of all, Lawn Green's been around since 1988 in the town of Mount Pleasant. They're not only a landscape supply company, they're a landscape design company. They have a reputation. Unless they go out of business, this is going to be a very attractive-looking facility. It's the way he can market his company. He is not going to have a mess here. The second thing is, you're right, we are asking for a variance with the distance between the two buildings, but this building is only about 9 feet tall. It basically will not even be visible. It's likely that it might be temporary. I don't see it, I'm not on your board. I don't.
I'm kind of confused on that point, because how could it be temporary if the higher building can't be built without the other building?
Here's how. In 3 years, they're running their business, and they realize, you know what? This corner of the building, we really aren't using as much as we thought we were going to. Let's go back to the planning board and propose that we eliminate this and we build it out in that corner. And that's really the concept, and that's the concept we floated by the town and the building inspector, and I'm not going to put words in anybody's mouth, but there's a little bit of flexibility here for the client, for the owner.
Let me ask you this one question. If you had to put an office in there, you have to put a bathroom in, correct?
Yes.
You now have a steel building with a concrete floor. You have to hook up to the sewer.
Yeah.
Where's the sewer line?
Well, the sewer line is in the street.
Right, and where are you gonna hook it up into that building if you were gonna do something?
Right.
You have to tear up your driveway?
No, well, in discussions, we would install the infrastructure into the building and cap it. We would be set. Sewer, well, the water has to come out here either way.
My other question is, you have vehicles, trucks. Where are the trucks gonna be stored at night?
We've got 4 allocated, 4 allocated truck storage, parking spaces here. We've got 2 here, and we've got the entire length of the center of the building. We only think that we need 6 spaces for construction vehicles outside, but we also have room for at least another 2 or 3 on the inside.
With the trailers?
With the trailer. The trailers, there's only 2 trailers, and these are the trailer spaces here. The rest of these are pickup trucks, small dump trucks, small landscaping trucks.
Yeah. Mr. Lapathos?
Yeah, I just want to get to some of the things that you provided to the board in response to questions that were asked about as you put it, the flexibility that you're trying to afford your client by starting out seeking what in effect is a greater than 50% variance for height. I'm not as concerned about the distance between the accessory structure and the business office. It's less than 50%. And I understand the reasons why you couldn't put that office on another location within the property. I see you have the Coltex systems on the far end, although that would have seemed like an obvious choice because it's drainage. Obviously, you can't cover that with a structure. But in an effort to try to provide your client with flexibility, as you put it, you're seeking a variance that's not very likely to be granted because it is significant. You do have alternatives. You've basically laid out for us that your alternative is to actually eliminate the need for a variance altogether, by putting the office within the larger structure and give yourself the 30-foot height availability, you don't need a variance from us. Right now, you're limited to 15 feet. You're trying to go to 27. It's a significant variance, and it's clearly going to have a negative impact on the people who live nearby. So it's entirely self-created. It's a significant variance. It's going to have a negative impact. It's really a loser from the get-go, but in the interest of flexibility, I understand you're trying to make the pitch, but if we deny your application for this variance, even if we grant the one for the distance to the office, but we deny the one for the height, you're just going to go and put the office inside the building, and then you're going to go to Plan B.
Well-
That said, it just seems like a huge waste of time, but that
Well,
flexibility maybe was worth it.
if I can, so let's just say that the office was in the barn building.
And then you're not here.
We're not here. But the 27-foot height barn building is 27 feet, whether we need a variance or not. So as far as an impact of the height of that building,
See, but you're giving us the opportunity now to evaluate it on an impact to the neighbors. If you didn't have a variance application before us, we wouldn't be able to evaluate that. You're inviting us to
understand.
do that. You're inviting us to be sensitive to all these people who are saying this is going to create a very negative impact in our otherwise bucolic community.
but not by
So,
virtue of the
I mean, in
variance.
effect, you're almost putting yourself in a worse position by coming here and asking for this variance. But it's just my opinion, and flexibility is a laudable goal. I just don't know if you.
No, I
it's
understand.
beneficial to be here.
He has a business model, he knows his business, he knows his
I
square
understand.
footage, and it's...
You're entitled to be here. I'm just
Yeah.
pointing out the obvious, I
Okay,
think.
thank you.
All right, obviously, a lot of people here are, want to say something regarding this application. The only request that I have is, if I call you, I don't want to have duplications of statements, otherwise we'll be here all night. All right? So, how many people would like to speak? All right, so I got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6? Now it's 7?
I mean, I want to volunteer as well, but my neighbor,
Well, let me ask this. Who is the one that has the property right on the corner there?
Ron, Mr. Chairman, let him talk and take the cake, we'll shut him off.
I need everybody's names.
All right, raise your right hand. Testimony about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God.
I swear.
All right, your name?
Scott Core.
Scott Core. And where do you live,
I
Scott?
live at 338 Jackson Avenue, which is one of the properties that share property line here.
Can you point on that, which one? Roughly,
Roughly, yeah.
if you can.
So this, where did you get
Behind, right?
That has the houses there.
All right, so this is my house right here. All right?
Okay.
First, I'm going to share this with you. My son helped me create it yesterday, a little poster board. Right, hopefully it stays up.
There you go.
All right. So first, I want to ask you guys, did everybody see the petition from the neighborhood?
No.
All right, can I share that with you guys?
Show it to me, yeah.
Was that submitted to the zoning? or
That was submitted to the zoning. Yes, this was submitted originally.
You got a copy of this?
board.
To the planning board?
To the planning
Maybe it's
board.
planning board, not the zoning board.
It didn't come to me.
No, it came to the,
Went probably to Carolyn.
To Carolyn,
Yeah,
correct.
that's-
Yeah.
she's planning on zoning.
Oh, I'm
Yeah,
sorry.
That's okay.
All right, so this is a petition here signed by over 50 residents around Jackson Avenue. No problem. Around Jackson Avenue, Bradhurst, Kelly, Benwick, Atlantic, Newman, just around the general area.
Right, and just to clarify, the planning board considered this
I
previously?
mean, as far as I know, it was in their possession.
Okay.
We met with the planning zone at the public hearing, but wasn't the hearing, but we're allowed to speak, or, I mean, I think Colin's call it like a little P, like, you know, like, we made a statement, but we really, you know, didn't get into the nitty-gritty of it, you know, so.
Not until it hits a public hearing, yeah.
Okay, so first, I want to start by saying, you know, we believe this property to be industrial property for a landscaping construction operation. It's not just storage, like a typical commercial retail development, you know? So this property is also unique that it shares a property line with 4 residential neighborhood, 4 houses, right? So any increase of this lot negatively impacts the neighborhood by allowing the operation to expand and become more intrusive to the neighborhood. So if that property, this flagpole lot comes up, this is my backyard here. Now, he said that it's 33 feet up, but the backyards here are tiered, so it's not quite 33 feet. You know, the lower yards are, you know, become more equal with it, right? So also I want to point out too that there's no other operation of this nature outside the industrial park areas, right? These type of operations are at the, by the train station, right? Which the pictures here, right? And also by the cemetery where I think Bright House operates, right? So we have numerous concerns with this as well, right? So there will be unreasonable noise from the trucks beeping, right? You see how narrow the lot is? So he's coming in, beep, you know, he has to make these like excessive 4-point U-turns. If you see right here, this is a picture of the truck, of one of the trucks. So maybe he starts out with 2 today, 3 tomorrow, you know, and it expands, right? So with this truck as well, you're coming around this turn, how are you gonna turn into that, right? He may end up having to stop, back up in, or come in from, you know, a different area, but either way, he still has to make the excessive maneuvers and U-turns, right? So there's also environmental impact to the neighborhood from the fumes of the diesel trucks, right? And other gas-powered machinery operating, right? There's the storage of hazardous and flammable materials such as gas, fertilizer, dust, and other materials in this type of operation. Maybe it's not there today, but that's what they work with, right? There doesn't seem to be enough room for the trucks, as I mentioned, right? So, you know, these trucks coming out on the blind curve present a safety hazard, as you guys mentioned before, right? And this is also amplified with the Amazon facility about to take over, right? So there's obviously not enough parking in the lot. They're gonna have to come up and park up on Jackson and the other neighborhoods, the other areas, which is, you know, it's not fair to the residents, right? Also, this operation can go 7 days a week. There's no plan submitted for the development of the connected property. So how are these gonna, you know, coexist? Is that property gonna bleed on, right? So I'd just like to close and say, you know, this operation, we feel the values are home. We feel it creates an eyesore. The office trailer alone is a type of building, as mentioned before, that's, you know, used in a temporary, it's a temporary structure used on a long-term construction project. So anybody sees a building going up, you see these type of trailers. It looks nice on that drawing, but, you know, kind of looks like somebody sell Christmas trees out of, you know? So, so also, you know, I just want to say, take note of these pictures, you know, everybody starts with good intentions.
Could you
I'm
show,
sure.
point where those pictures are from?
So this is, if you're coming into the
That
train
Hawthorne
station.
train station?
Yeah, Hawthorne train station, this is maybe 4 or 5 dump trucks, right? Parked there, packed to the brims, which is fine, because, you know, that's the area. This is a landscaping yard that's also by the train station, right? This, now look, if you see here, this is another lot that's over there, and you can see the material packed almost 30 feet high by the parking lot there.
But this is illustrative. This isn't the property in question.
No, I'm not saying, but I'm saying that,
You're giving us examples.
Right.
I'm just giving an example. Let me finish.
I understand.
Let me
We
finish.
understand.
We understand.
We understand.
So we understand that they may have good intentions now, but as you can see how the properties of this nature age, over the years. Maybe not this year, maybe next year. Maybe Mark sells the property and, you know, the next guy it looks like that. But this is, you know, these are the concerns of the neighborhood. And, you know, I want to thank you guys for, you know, letting us speak.
Thank you.
Appreciate the service. Thank you.
Mr. Corr, can I just ask you before you leave, and I appreciate all the things that you pointed out, but with respect to the very narrow scope of what our inquiry is focused upon, what impact would the height of the building, the proposed height, would that have upon your...
It's an eyesore.
Could you elaborate as to how you, the distance, the impact you think it would have?
Well, first, if this property line moves back, right, it becomes an encroachment onto our property where,
But just with respect to the height.
with respect to the height, I mean,
You know,
you're gonna see
our
it out
scope
the
is very
window.
limited, so the height issue is a primary consideration for us, so I'm just trying to get a sense of how that's going to impact you, whether it's positive or negative, but...
I mean, it'd be negative as you can see it. And there's no,
Right now, this time of the year, looking at your property, knowing where your house is,
yeah,
can you see, now it's called Chestnut, whatever, Chestnut?
yes, absolutely. You can
Can
see
you see that?
Chestnut, you can see the mobile gas station, right?
So you
see
can
the
see
car
that,
wash.
and that's been there existing for a while.
Yeah,
And that
this
just got
time
changed
of time of year, you can see it, but throughout.
So if the applicant, to address that concern, put in the right foliage, the right trees in between, in that section that you're talking about, and if they're evergreens, which stay predominantly green, would that address,
Right.
it would actually block the vision that you currently have?
You know, there's like, you know, there's that big word if, like you said.
No, I'm not saying
You
that.
know, I'm
I
saying-
know for a fact,
right.
because part of what we do on the zoning board,
Yeah.
it's an education to everybody else, is a lot of what you brought up was very valid
Yeah,
and all that type of stuff, but that's a planning board issue, where you're showing what other industries and other businesses that, what you might think are similar, it's not, and the ones you're talking about is a totally different zone, even though it's commercial.
right.
But what we're addressing here is, as the chairman has always said, not everybody wins in this confrontation,
Right.
all right?
The
And
installation.
hear me out. So
okay,
what I'm
sorry.
saying is, right now, you currently, if nothing was done until spring comes, so between spring and fall,
Right.
that visual that you're talking about is blocked. Because now you have deciduous trees that lose their leaves. So from the end of the fall to the beginning of the spring, your view changes to the point that you're seeing a gas station, you're seeing the commercial district across the street,
Right.
all right? Which is nothing any of us can do about it. That's just the way
Yeah,
it
yeah,
is, all right? It was the same thing with the Amazon building. We weren't part of the planning on that, but we had to approve certain fence heights and things of that nature. That was a garden and a nursery that was taken away. You know, that people that didn't even live by it were saying it's changing my view.
Sure.
So my point is, if this applicant, and we vote, we do whatever, but part of that is to put the right foliage, where you're putting trees that now are blocking
Yeah, I
it.
mean,
It's
absolutely.
enhancing, it's not taking away from your property, it's enhancing your property, because now it's putting new foliage in that area and enhancing that piece
Well,
of property.
the operation of the garage itself.
If you
Yes.
put those trees in that point, my saying is,
Yeah. Well, no, it
you're not
blocks
gonna
the
see
view.
it, you're not gonna hear it, no.
Right.
But it's still gonna lessen it to a degree, just to
Yeah,
address your
well,
concern,
well,
that's all.
Yeah, that's a, I mean, that's a fact. Sure. You know,
I'm just saying, that these are the things that we have to look into.
Sure.
We can't address or change that that's a commercial property.
Right.
He's
No,
entitled to do what he wants to do with their property, we will try
Right.
to look at different options.
Yeah, but the expansion of this flagpole lot now becomes commercial.
But
Is
what
that
he's,
part of
what
the,
he's doing is, if you look at the plans, he is actually putting all trees in, and a couple of those things, I don't know if Mr. Sessions
No, the
has
trees
it
are
up
in
on there.
on our side, they're not in this.
No, I heard the doctor, heard him state they were on his property.
We offered to put them on your property, you didn't want.
So he's putting trees into that little piece that you're calling expansion. It's just a paper expansion line, but he's saying in that section, according to what I looked on the plans up here, those are all new trees going up in there. Now, the first year they put in, are they gonna be solid and be like a billboard? No, it takes time for nature to take effect, but.
Right. I mean, trees, honestly, trees would improve the site. I mean, that's obvious.
That's exactly what we're saying. So when
Right.
you say clear cutting, right now, it's all overgrown. So anything to that property is gonna enhance it by cleaning it up and doing what a lot of people don't do with taking care of properties.
And the sight line, I'm sorry to interrupt, will be significantly safer from...
We would like to see I mean, could we see the report? We'd like to see the report where this sight line expands 200 feet down the line.
So I'm sorry, this is
That's a
why,
planning-
but this
that's
is
a
why we're
planning
trying to,
board
one
issue.
person speak and give the applicant time at the end to respond to any of the public comments, so we don't have a back and forth.
All right, anyway, I'm...
No, we appreciate it,
And I
and we're just trying to
appreciate
educate
it.
people on the differences between the two.
Sure, I understand.
Thank you.
Thank you.
That's fine.
Good evening,
Good
board
evening.
members.
Yes,
Raise your right
sir.
hand.
Thomas Petrolisi,
Testimony about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God.
I do.
Where do you
Thomas
live in
Petrolisi,
relationship to this?
339 Bradhurst Avenue, Hawthorne.
Wait, what was it? What was the address?
339.
339.
Thank you.
I'm right where, I guess, where I'm, where's,
What do you look?
Where- You're near the gas station, your hand's on the gas station there.
my property line is right around the bend, okay, if you guys are aware of what the situation is there. I have so much trouble getting out of my driveway now, and this guy's gonna tell me that by putting a driveway at the end of my property line, they're gonna have, no problems. I took pictures of accidents that occurred in that intersection here. Now, the DOT is gonna approve this, I'd like to know who did it. I wanna find out the person's name, because I like to find, I want this to be on report, that if anything should happen, accidents are gonna happen, like you mentioned, okay? I've been living there since 1980, and nobody's never built anything in that piece of property. My house, there was a house there prior to my house, burnt down to the ground, and I had a contractor put up my home for me right there. Now, in over 40 years, I dread the fact, I don't even have my wife go out of my driveway because it's so bad. And I'm just want to let you know that doesn't sound right to me. Thank you.
Right, if you go back a little further, that used to be the old Hawthorne interchange between the sawmill and the
Circle.
Taconic.
Yes, the Hawthorne Circle, right?
That's right,
Exactly.
it was right there.
Yeah.
Anyone else? Okay. Wait, one at a time. Did you raise your right hand, sir?
Yes, sir. My name is
Testimony
Greg
about to give is the
Lukaski.
truth, the whole
Oh,
truth,
yeah.
nothing but the truth, so help you God.
My name is Greg Lukaski. I live at 336 Jackson Avenue,
Right?
Hawthorne. I got dressed for this tonight.
Thank
I reflect everything that Scott, my neighbor, said. And my concerns are not as much, they are, but not as much the sight line, the trees. I don't want anything on my property planted. But I'm concerned with the sound, the emissions, but the danger, which has been pointed out. I fail to see where there's 200 feet of sight line. It occurs to me that you people have gone there and done a site visit. That is a disaster now. It's a disaster now. As Tom said, you can't pull out, you can't pull in, even out of Jackson, it's dangerous. So what has occurred most recently is the new ShopRite on 9. So the trucks used to come straight up so that they were in between the Shell and the Getty. Now they're coming from 9, coming up the hill. I disagree with Mr. Sessions in the sense that he says it's better that they're coming up. I disagree because they accelerate more. So either way, there's no visibility, none. The fact of children, one of the things, my house looks right down, so I'm elevated next to Scott. I like it when I can see the trees and hear the birds and everything else. And as it is now, I'm here 30 years. I feel there's an overdevelopment of Hawthorne since I got here. Nobody's thrilled with Amazon, but we're not going to stop that. But we have other eyesores of which I think this is going to be. We have an eyesore on Liberty and Commerce on a big building that got built. It seems like they stopped construction on that. It's right flush to the road. We don't need more of that. None of us moved here, and there's a lot of us here, and there's more people. There's more people that are not here tonight, that we could get everybody here. You saw the petition. So it was pointed out there's a fatality. We can't predict the future, but it's ripe for more fatalities, more accidents. People, to this gentleman, Mr. Presner's, people are driving crazy. I invite you all to come and stand in my kitchen window and look out. You can't believe how cars coming up, cars coming down. We lost 3 pets on that road that wandered out. Boom, people coming so fast they can't see them. So it's my, try to wrap it up, it's my view and that of the 4 houses on Jackson whose back face this project. And very against it. I think it devalues everybody's house. But I think the absolute, I'm going to quote, I had all these notes, and then after this, I can't even read that one. But I really believe the best absolute assessment, judgment of this, is to assemble some team, panel, board, whatever, and come and stand in that intersection, which is a 4-way intersection right now, very dangerous, and come at rush hour in the morning during the week, not on a Saturday, oh, I appreciate that you went on a Saturday, and come 4:35, 5:30 on a week afternoon. Stand there for a half hour, come in my kitchen, look down, it's fine. Tell me if you think that's approvable with that cut. That cut could not, you couldn't design it in a worse position. You absolutely could not if you tried. So I think it's a danger, it's a quality of life issue, it's a overdevelopment of Hawthorne. We're all paying taxes up here, we're all very happy, we want to stay that way, but I don't think this is progress. I think this is valuing everything that we have worked for, stood for in Hawthorne. Thanks for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you. Raise your right hand, sir.
Hi, good evening.
Testimony about to give us the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God.
I do.
Your name?
Joe Durante.
Joe Durante.
Yes.
No relationship to
A little bit.
the other, okay.
I just want to say
Now,
that.
what's your address where you live?
I'm sorry. Oh, I live on Jackson Avenue. I'm across the street from where these guys are. They're on the side that's going to be affected by this. I'm across the street.
What number?
337. So, this is essentially, to me, like putting a driveway in the middle of the Springbrook Parkway. We have trouble pulling out of that block every morning. There's school buses full of children. Gasoline tank is pulling in at all times of the day and night. There's going to be a catastrophe. You ever, and the turn to get in there is a fish hook. It's shaped like a fish hook, so there's no way if you're coming up that hill that you're going to be able to pull into this without going almost onto the gas station to get in there because it's a fish hook. And trees are going to help, but they ain't going to help the chaos and the danger. People are going to die there. It's just the way it is. They pick up speed coming down from where the church is, down Bradhurst. You could go by there any time of the day. Excuse me?
You mean down from Holy Rosary?
Yeah, there's a decline there, so people, like you said earlier, there's speed limits, but, it's a very dangerous thing.
You know, the joke used to be in Sicily, if you're going to cross the street, stand next to a baby carriage. Because they won't hit the baby carriage, they may hit the mother, but they'll never hit the baby carriage. All right? The thing is, we have another situation in town. Now that we have the Amazon building running, we have people walking on that area, and I don't know if that has been addressed, because there's no sidewalks.
That too.
There's no sidewalks. So you have people walking from the Hawthorne train station.
A lot in the morning.
Under the overpass and up to get onto 9 to get to the...
Yes.
And I see it in the morning. I see about 20, 30 people when the train gets off. There's about 30 people walking. They'll get their hoodies on. They've got their cell phones in their ears. They don't know what the hell's going on, but they're just walking.
And then
Somebody's gonna get clipped.
with the sun glare in the morning, sometimes I can't even pull out of Jackson, and that's not even as dangerous as that, but yeah, I go around the other way because people just can't see it, you know? And, but, you know, there's gonna be so many fumes down there, you know, I do this for a living. I mean, I drive, like, move a lot of material for municipalities and stuff, but I don't see how you're gonna have a supply yard without piles of gravel or topsoil. And if they're gonna put it inside the tent, how are you gonna back a truck into a tent that's 9 feet high? I don't even get it. Is it gonna be wheelbarrows all day long there? I mean,
Well, one of the concerns that I have, thinking about it, you know, Connor Street, I know very well in the Bronx.
I can
okay?
see that.
I grew up there most of my life.
Me too, I was down that way too. Wakefield,
Whereabouts?
Woodlawn,
Woodlawn.
yeah, like the top east end of the Bronx, like
St. Francis, up
Saint-
around 238th Street, right?
Right, St.
Okay.
Francis of Rome, right.
So, right, church I got married in. The thing is, Connor Street is different because it's a totally
Absolutely.
industrial area. You got truck repairs, you got the bus companies, you've got everything over there,
I agree totally.
okay? This is different.
Very
It's
different.
very different. And that's the thing that, if they were gonna put it on Broadway, if this application was on Broadway, I'd look at it in a different light,
I agree with you.
okay? 'Cause
Totally.
You got the railroad tracks, and we cleaned up one of the properties over there on Broadway, some of these trucks and whatnot. The thing is, this bothers me. I'm not being honest with you.
I totally agree.
And I just I gotta look at the height of a building and an accessory building. But I don't think, in my personal opinion, I don't think anybody's really looked into this.
That's probably
It's
why that,
dangerous as hell.
it's probably why the house that was there isn't there anymore. I mean, it's, Tom
don't
can't
know.
even pull out of his driveway.
Yeah, I understand all that. And they're two different areas. I mean, if you were in Elmsford, that's one thing. You know, you go down 9A in Elmsford,
Yes,
south of
perfect.
119, the little
Perfect.
trucks and everything you got there.
And then
I
there's,
don't know.
you know, it's gonna be
George,
defecating.
do you have any
you know.
comment? We got more. Anything different? I mean, we all agree that it's a problem, okay?
Yes.
Is there anything we could add to it that's constructive?
I'll leave it at that.
Come on up.
Thank you very much.
All right, you are. Raise your right hand, please. You look very familiar. Mr. Creativity. I knew it was you. Testimony about to give us the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God.
I do.
Okay, your name and address.
My name is John Anastasiou, and I'm at 320 Kelly Street.
Okay.
I have to say it's unique being here, part of the public, in lieu of being a representative for an applicant. But I actually have a different way of looking at this. In my opinion, I believe the application is flawed on its merit. If I understood the applicant correctly, Mr. Chairman, he stated that he needed to have the office to be able to have the storage facility. Did I understand that correctly?
And what he indicated was that because there's a requirement that no freestanding, entirely dedicated storage building is permitted, they had to have some office space. They chose not to include it within the larger structure, and they chose to put it adjacent to it. Hence, they need a variance or two variances from us based upon the plans they've come up with.
To me, that seems to, at the very least, contradict the spirit or the intent of definitions of what a primary use is and what an accessory use is. The applicant stated, I may be incorrect, but to my recollection, in actuality, the storage facility is the primary use. The office is there maybe to run the administrative portion of the storage portion. So in actuality, the primary function is the storage. The accessory use is really office space that really belongs within the storage facility. That's how I've always designed them. I never designed a storage facility as an accessory to an office structure being the primary. An office might need, I thought when I first read the notice, it was reversed. When I saw that the storage was 3,000 and the module was 600, I thought I had the uses mixed up. But to me, I think it does a disservice to how the code was intended, to be able to flip the meaning of primary use as opposed to an accessory use. If we take that at face value, I think the two variances that are being requested are also very, I don't want to sound alarmist, but I think they should be reviewed under very careful consideration, because a storage facility carries some level of hazard with it, according to the building code. An office use is a business use, but if you're making the accessory structure a business use and then you're putting it closer to the storage facility, plus you're increasing the height of it, I think it flies in the face of what the intent of those distance requirements and height restrictions were on an accessory building, because they were both safety driven. Even if you put it in residential terms, we don't put a pool next to a house because you don't want someone jumping from the house to go into the pool. So here, it's a little bit different.
Excuse me.
You don't want an office use to be so close to a potentially hazardous use. A hazardous use, something could go up in flames. It then puts the office use at jeopardy because of its proximity. In addition to that, I think it's a little, I know the applicant is looking for flexibility, but stating that this office could be temporary in nature, I think also defies or goes against the intent of what the zoning requirement is, which is you have to have an office use. If you have to have an office use, it has to be permanent, it has to be built, it has to be there forever in perpetuity with the use of a storage facility being on a premises. It can't be built there and then in a year say, you know what, I really don't need it, or I'll put it in the building. If the project is going to get approved with the requirement that there has to be an office presence, then I feel it needs to be permanently part of the project in perpetuity with the storage use. That's it for me.
All right, you're going to be the last gentleman for this evening, okay?
Thank you. My name is John Bonafonte.
All right, right. Testimony about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God. Mr. Bonafonte, where do you live in relationship to this?
I'm on Brighton and Newman. This looks a lot different. The corner of Brighton and Newman.
Brighton's gonna be down.
Right,
Where's the actual piece that we're talking about?
right where your finger is. Right there.
You're standing at the gas station.
Yeah, so I'm in the corner of Brighton and Newman, which is directly across the street here.
Okay.
All right, so generally, that's
I'm sorry, I just need your actual address.
326 Brighton Avenue.
Thank you.
I'm a real estate broker. I've been in business 23 years, and if this happens, the way he proposes with all these additional trucks, my personal property value will significantly drop at least 10 to 20%. That will happen to every person in this room. We could be taking away the equity that's coming into my home of over $100,000, and that could be for every single person in this room, where we could have an equity loss of over $1 million for our homes because we're putting trucks and everything around. If I brought one of my clients to a showing and they saw all these trucks, the house I live in would not sell. And that's going to be true for everyone in this room. So it's a major loss to everyone's here property value, significant.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Give Mr. Sessions a chance to respond.
Oh,
Mr. Sessions.
All right, Mr. Sessions,
And then we'll close.
Yeah.
To close the
take the floor, and if you want, you can respond.
Thank you. In no particular order. And this is not the first time that it's been said, but it was said again tonight. People are talking about the adjacent lot, okay, and what connection there will be. And the commercial use is going to spill over into the residential use. It's impossible. It's impossible. The grades here, I don't know if you've been out there, if anybody's walked it, these are 30, 40% grades. Okay? There's a house that we had to design just to make sure. One more piece. Town engineer and the town planner. I can't find it. It's not important. We had to prove out a fictional house on that lot, that there wouldn't be any variances needed, the driveway complies, blah, blah, blah. And we did. No house is going to want a commercial building to encroach onto its property. No commercial building is going to want the house. And physically, there is a massive slope between the two. It's not going to happen. It can't happen. So I just wanted to put that to bed for the fourth time. I've heard the term supply yard, again, mentioned twice tonight. Construction yard. Not what is being proposed. Not only is it not being proposed, it will not happen. Okay? It's not a supply yard. It's not a construction yard. You're not going to see stockpiles of gravel and sand and so on and so forth. It's not what we're proposing. The property value issue. It really depends on how you look at it. I mean, again, he's been in the business for 30, 35 years. He's a landscape designer. We all have probably varying opinions of this, but I think this property will look very similar to what these renderings look like. It will be landscaped. It will be screened from the property owners. And the board brought up a very good point. In the winter, from the houses on Jackson, you see right down to the car wash and to the gas station and so on and so forth. Not only will this building or these buildings be screened from the neighbors, but so will the commercial uses across the street once these evergreens are put into place. Now, as far as the driveway, the safety of the road, we've gone through it. Everybody knows that it's not a perfect situation. My experience, and I think it's everybody's experience if they're being honest with each other, is that once something is in, and if this driveway is put in, and there is a business there, and the sight distance is improved, the neighborhood people, the people that travel this road day in and day out, and even some of the people that don't travel day in and day out, they know something's there. They know there's a driveway there. They'll see the building. They'll see the signs. Eventually you realize, this thing is here. Maybe somebody's pulling out of the driveway. It could very well have somewhat of a calming effect. Now, I'm not suggesting it's going to be perfect. And maybe that wouldn't be the case, but I know from personal experience, when something is built and is being used, the people utilizing that road realize, you know what, there's a driveway there now, and people are coming in and out of there. And inherently, I think they act a little bit more carefully. That's my experience.
I find that when people drive, there's an anonymity, because they're behind the wheel, and they all think they're Mario Andretti.
I get it.
And the experiences that I have, you can just get up in the morning, turn the radio on, crash here, smash there, this here, that there. It's a lousy intersection. That whole
it is.
Corner, it's lousy.
I understand.
And if you're down on Connor Street, I think it's I don't remember if it's still one way,
Well, I'm not on College Street.
or you're off of
I'm in
it.
a semi-commercial area. There's
All right.
residential houses where I am.
Yeah, all right, that's,
So I
is that
know
up
what it's like.
on the Baychester Avenue?
No. I'm off of Boston Post Road.
Right.
Side blocks. I grew up there. It's a semi-commercial area. There's actually residential houses on the block of my business. So I know how to, you know, how it is when you're residential in the neighborhood. Also, the other thing was, when you said that people get off the train station and go to Amazon,
That's right.
they don't walk on that, they walk, it's across the road.
No,
I've never
they-
seen anybody walking on that.
I see them in the morning.
Off the point here.
No, we're not off the
We
point. The
are.
fact of the matter is, people do walk. I've seen it. Now that it's open, people go to work that way and they walk. I know what we're supposed to do. Just look at the building or look at the application and say, okay, give you your 6 feet variance and we'll go up to the top. But this scares the daylights out of me. I'm sorry. I don't know if it's within our jurisdiction or not.
But I appreciate that, and I believe that it scares the
Because
daylights.
look at 267B. Is it self-created? Yes. Is there potential danger within the neighborhood? Adverse effect on the, definitely.
Unmitigated.
Unmitigated. Yeah.
Unmitigated.
Yeah. It's dangerous even if there was no store there, nothing there. It's dangerous as it is now. So whether you put in a mall, a small mall, or you put in this landscaping business, it's gonna add to it.
Correct.
And I'm looking at this from a personal point of view. Do I want to approve something that I know someone's going to get hurt or it's a bad situation? And that's what's scaring me at this point.
Mr. Chair,
There's something.
I suggest we let the man conclude and we go into business session.
I agree, there's just one more applicant, one more member of the community that wants to speak in response to the presenters' comments.
Raise your right hand, sir. Testimony about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God.
Yes.
You are?
Frank Infantino. I live at 86 Newman Avenue.
Newman.
Yes.
Okay.
So I know on a beautiful day, there's 20, 30 cars waiting online to get into that car wash. And also you say you don't have material, but at the end of the day, you have stuff left over you're gonna put in that dumpster. And what kind of truck is gonna be taking that dumpster in and out? It's not a pickup truck. So,
Right.
that's what I have to say.
Okay.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Rocky Fastaglio.
Testimony about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God. And you, let me have your name again?
Rocky Fastaglio,
Rocky Fasagra, where do you live? Roy?
87 Newman.
Okay, 87 Newman.
Okay. I'm the dog walker. I walk my dog by the gas station every day. I see these trucks fly up and down that road, okay? And you forget, you have the gas manifold there. Con Edison's always shutting it down. There's always a problem there, okay? Going down to one lane, all right? There's always something going on. You can't have another business over it. That's why Pony had it so long. You couldn't get rid of it, okay, because of the reason. Old man Fred said to me, that place will never sell because, guess what? It's the state road, need a light there, number one. You're gonna put a light in too?
No.
No light, okay? You need a light over there also for the traffic. That ever been discussed? No. You need a light there, number one. It's very dangerous, you can't, I lived on Jackson too. I moved from Jackson to Newman, all right? They're both dangerous, both sides over there, no matter which way you turn the point. Coming back from the church when you come home on Sunday, all right? There's always cars going up and down. Who's racing to get onto 9A? Who wants to go here, go there? It's very, very busy there. Even without the business being put in, whatever the case may be, we still need something to slow the traffic there. Okay, no matter what goes on tonight, we still need something there. It's dangerous. I almost got hit several times with my dog over there by the mobile station. Okay, it's very bad over there. And you want to put another access in. Not a good idea. Thank you.
Thank you.
Go ahead.
Well, there's enough.
We got one last one, and that's it.
I'm just gonna make it real quick.
My name is,
Tired. Dude, tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes, I do.
Okay.
My
And
name
you-
is Tony Villalba. I'm at 151 Bennett Place.
Okay.
Okay, I've been there 34 years. And my kids, as they were growing up, they would go down to Broadway, ride their bikes, and walk down to there. All these people here have kids. They're gonna be doing the same thing. They're gonna be in harm's way.
Okay.
Very quick.
It's your floor.
The question was asked about what could be built here as of right per zoning. I read off 5 minutes of different types of uses, again, as of right, not necessarily needing a zoning variance. Something is going to be built here. It's a commercially retail zoned piece of property. Something will be built here. We're talking about trucks that are leaving in the morning and away from the site all day, not in and out all day. The trucks load up and go, and they don't come back until the night. They park their trucks and they go home with their personal vehicles. This is probably the least intense use of all of the things that I read, probably the least intense vehicular use that can be built here. Again, I just want to reiterate that. I'm sure your board understands it. You're very intelligent people, but I need to mention it. This is not a bank. It's not a school. It's not a massage parlor, all right? These are things that can be approved here on this site. It's in the code. I just read the code.
Why we asked the question,
So, I just want to bring it all together and say this is not an intense use of this property from a vehicular
The only
standpoint.
concern I have, no matter what use is there, they're gonna use the existing driveway curb cut.
Yeah. And no matter what use it is, they're going to use, the DOT has determined from a health, safety, and welfare standpoint, that's the only place for a driveway on this property. Other than that, it's a taking, right? The property's vacant, it's commercially zoned, that's where the driveway needs to be. Something's going to go there.
Mr.
This is, I'm sorry, go ahead.
I thought you were done.
No, I'm done.
Mr. Chairman, I suggest that we now move into business session, since we've heard from numerous members of the community and the applicant, and we're done with the agenda otherwise.
We have one more?
Yeah, the gentleman.
Make it quick, because in 10 minutes I turn into a mouse. Okay.
I'm Jim Ryman. I live at 343 Memorial Drive.
Good, that's good enough for me. Go ahead.
In terms of what the zoning board, what's before the zoning board, the real problem here is that we've got a commercial creep from 141. It's kind of creeping forward. The structures are getting bigger. There's an office building where there used to be a house, and
The hair
there's a
salon.
construction area that used to be a residential house, and now they're asking to put another commercial building. And although it is zone commercial, that doesn't mean that it should be there. Okay? It's going to be a huge building. It's going to be out of place. And I think we've gone back and forth to discuss that the curb cut is dangerous, and everybody knows that that's going to be dangerous coming around that corner, going south on Bradford. It's dangerous. It's a foolish idea. And they're going to put, and they say that they're not going to leave things outside, but what are they going to put in there? They're going to put in fertilizer, they're going to put in pesticides, and they can hardly turn around a 40-foot truck to begin with. And they want to put this up? That's insane. They want to put up a huge building. It's not appropriate there. It just isn't. We don't need to make all of Hawthorne a commercial zone. And just because it is zoned commercial, it doesn't mean that we should really put it there. Thank you very much.
Thank you. We'll be here all night if we keep going.
That's it.
But-
Do you have anything different? We all know everybody here.
Yeah, a little different view.
Then come on.
All right. Testimony about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so
I
help you
do.
God. Okay. You are?
Michael Paradiso. I live at 345 Jackson Avenue on the opposite side of these guys, on the other side of the street. And two things. I'm a truck driver. Okay? If I was to approach that lot with a truck and trailer,
What type of truck?
straight job. I drive everything.
Like
I
a box
drove
truck.
landscaping trucks with trailers when I was a kid. My grandfather owned a landscaping business. I drove, straight jobs, everything. I've been I work for a big construction company right now, right off of Connor Street. And so if I was to pull up that lot and you're telling me I have to come up the street there and I have to jackknife into that lot like that, the way that the street is designed, I would end up pulling across the 2 lanes of traffic and backing into that yard just so I would know that I could get out of there with a truck and trailer. You know what I mean? It's just not it's not practical for over there. There's just too much going on. And another thing is, who's to say the smoke clears, everybody goes away, he gets his building, he gets the building next to him, everybody goes on. And I also do the snow plowing for my company. I'm up 2 o'clock in the morning, starting trucks, getting snow blowers ready. We don't want to hear that. We don't want to hear any of that stuff going on at 2 o'clock in the morning, plows going up and down and getting things ready, guys parking cars in front of our houses on Jackson. I live on Jackson. Eventually, maybe they fill up over there, and listen, I own that property up on top over there. Just go park over there for the day. I mean, eventually, once everybody goes away and we don't have this opportunity to talk no more, then everybody's up there. Everybody's parking in front of my house. All of a sudden, they're walking through the woods. And don't say you can't walk through the woods, because my kids do it all the time. They walk through the woods and they go down to the gas station. There's paths. You can walk from Jackson Avenue all the way down to that gas station. If my 10-year-old kid can do it, the people that work for him can do it. And I'm not trying to say anything bad about it, but it's just not like. And then what kind of people are working for him? People that are going to come back later on. Oh, that's a nice car that guy has in his drive. Now we got all these people that don't live over there coming parking in front of my house. I don't want it. That's all I got to say.
Thank you.
Thank you for hearing me.
Do you want to take a 5-minute break, or do you want to go into?
Do you need a?
What?
I move that we go into
I'm
business
fine.
session.
You want to go into the business session? All right, do I have a motion to go into business session?
So moved.
Motion made.
Business
Yeah, I
session
second.
is where he asked what, business session is where the board talks about the application tonight that we haven't already voted on. We talk amongst each other, but it's open for you to listen, but there's no audience participation. That's what business session is. And then we may or may not vote on any of the applications that are outstanding.
How do we get, when we get variance for that, is that public mailing to us? Or
If it's approved, you can call me in the morning.
All right. Thank you.
Okay. Who wants the floor?
Oh, are we staying on this one?
Yeah, we don't have any of it.
Yeah, there's
We do.
No, we don't.
Oh,
Yeah, they're
adjourned, that's right.
Right.
Okay, my fault.
Yeah.
My fault.
I mean, first of all, the street stuff, we can all agree.
Does that usually happen with like a month or what's the time frame?
For what?
For that?
What do you mean for a public?
We just need everybody to please go in the hallway, please. If you wanna, you could stay here and listen if you want, but if you wanna.
Well, we're gonna go into
hallway so we could.
Session, we're either going to
Thank you.
maybe reserve it for a future meeting, or we may decide to approve, or we may decide to deny. I don't know
I
yet.
just asked because I live directly behind it, Jackson. And everyone said what I was gonna say, so I didn't want you to turn
Thank you.
into a mouse. So, we'll get out of here.
We appreciate it, but,
thank you for listening to all of us.
Yeah.
Appreciate it.
All right, guys, please take the conversations outside so we can do the business session. You're more than welcome to stay and listen to the business session. Otherwise, please go in the hallway. Thank you.
Okay, so first of all, everything that was said was rightfully said, but a lot of it was more dictated to the planning board. Prior to even get to this.
Almost all of it, actually.
Yeah, I know, almost everything in the DOT and the safety and everything else. I mean, unfortunately, we can only go by what zone, the districts are telling us. So obviously, that's been a commercial district for a while. I mean, from what I could gather from people saying, I mean, there might have been a house, a structure of some type, 40-plus years ago.
Didn't have the traffic 40 years.
Well, we didn't have a lot of stuff up here. When I
That's
moved
right.
up 35 years ago, it was a
I've been
two-lane
up-
highway at four corners, and now it's a four-lane,
That's right. I've
whatever.
been up.
I mean,
I've-
unfortunately, we can't deal with society and the way the creep is coming from the south to the north, et cetera, et cetera. We're seeing it all over. I agree with the population saying of overdevelopment and all that type of stuff from that angle. I mean, so the part that concerned me was what I brought up, of the trailer, the building, the barn. I mean, if they presented a building that was large enough to fit in that scope with the offices inside of it, we wouldn't be here. Right. Because to his
Right.
point, it's 35 feet. If the police department chose that piece of property, the town went into the police department, I guarantee you, they're gonna build something bigger. So where I was going with what I was saying is if we could put, you know, put the foliage in between, that's gonna buffer it. To your point, nobody ever wins, 100%.
That's right.
I mean, I don't know what we can do about the traffic, that's not our purview. It's obviously gone between the DOT, there was a lot of work done on this.
So, can I make 2 points to what you're saying? For one, to some extent, we have to at least give deference to the planning board on the planning board issues and the DOT on the DOT issues. On the other extent, if what they're approving is ridiculous, we don't have to just say, well, they said yes, so we have to overlook the obvious and just pretend that the obvious hazards don't exist. But more importantly, my biggest issue is that we're approving, in theory, we're being asked to approve a plan that he cannot effectuate because the lot lines don't exist for him to effectuate it. So, in my view, the planning board should make the decision first if they want to move those lot, or he should get that approval first, and then come back to us with a plan that is actually something we can approve on paper.
I agree, I don't think it's right to be before, even though they're allowed to.
I don't know, George, what do you
It's gonna
think?
be subject to that approval.
Things got off the rails early, and they stayed off the rails for almost this entire debate on this application. We have a very limited issue before us. A lot of conversation was had about issues that are planning board issues. I don't know if the planning board is finished with their consideration of determining whether or not this project will get ultimately an approval for a building permit and will get built the way it's proposed. But our focus, by virtue of what authority we have, is limited to determining whether or not the height of this building that exceeds the code is going to be permitted with the issuance of a variance, and whether or not the distance between this building and the second accessory structure is going to be permitted because they're too close to each other.
Right.
Everything else that was discussed isn't for us.
Except what do we do?
But that said, some of the material that was presented does pertain to those two issues. So what I'd like to do is just try to take what we did here, to the extent that it's applicable, and give you my thoughts on it. So, yeah.
267B.
Indeed, there's exact factors of what I'm going to try to take all that was discussed and apply them. So, first, with respect to the question that I posed to the applicant's representative about whether or not this is of significant import to the property owner. And the fact of the matter is, I think he answered the question to what I expected, and that is, it isn't very important to him, because he has a perfectly viable option of doing exactly what he wants on the property in terms of using the large structure for storage of landscaping materials without the need for any variance if he takes the business, the trailer,
office.
which is
The
the
office.
office, thank you, the office space that needs to be allocated, and he puts it within the larger structure. That is a in effect, his Plan B. His Plan A is to seek a variance that exceeds code by more than 50%, which is, it's 27 feet, so it's 12 feet above 15. It's almost 100% variance. It's like a 80% ask. So that bodes against the application. The fact that it's not so important to him, he does have another use of the property that will get him the same exact profit, the same exact benefit from the property if he simply puts the office space within the larger structure. So it's not of critical need to him. Second of all, it's entirely self-created because he came up with Plan A on his own, which was to separate the two structures and make the need for these two variances. So just on those three factors alone, I would vote against the application. I don't believe that they've made out anything that merits it because, again, they have a perfectly viable option available to them, which they've chose not to pursue, perhaps for reasons that weren't made entirely clear from the record, but because they wanted to maximize floor space within the larger structure, I think was what was indicated. And I can understand that, but in effect, if we deny both variance applications here, they then have Plan B as a viable option that bodes against issuing the variances that they've requested. So my thought is to reject it. As far as the thing going back to the planning board, our issues and the planning board's issues are really distinct. Almost everything that came out during this meeting pertains to whether or not the planning board should approve ultimately the project as it's proposed. But just with respect to, again, the height and the distance between the structures, I don't see any reason why we wouldn't and shouldn't vote on those tonight and give a decision on it.
The only thing in mathematics, two negatives equal a positive in multiplication. Okay? So we have here two wrongs. We got a bad intersection and a bad piece of property.
We don't, though. The
I
ZBA doesn't
understand
have a
that,
bad
but in
intersection to worry
conscience,
about.
if you had a car and you knew the brakes weren't working, would you get in the car and drive? No. Common sense. Let's stay with common sense for a minute. It's a dangerous intersection, as it is now. The planning board decided this is where we're gonna put the driveway because there was a house, the driveway was there when the house was put up 50 years ago. Or was tore down 50 years ago. All right?
See, but we're going off yes,
I
we're going off the
understand
variance.
that. I understand
But
that.
this record is potentially going to be the record that's presented during Article 78. We have to base our decision on criteria and factors that are relevant, not a lot of what was not relevant. And what you've just discussed is not relevant to the issues that pertain to the height and distance between buildings.
You know,
If you're not
sorry.
inclined to vote for the application, George laid out the reasons why that would
Using the
that
factors
would
of the
withhold on any potential challenge to it. That's totally correct. I would say, for me,
Our limited authority.
right, I would say I would agree with everything that George said up to that point. I would also, for me, I would just add the additional point that our standard approvals go for based upon the plans as submitted. For me, I'm uncomfortable with the idea that he's asking us to evaluate within the scope that George gave us plans that he cannot build at this point in time because he does not have the proper lot lines. So that, maybe that's unique to me or not.
The only thing I'll say is I think that maybe I misunderstood or maybe there was a misunderstanding otherwise. But he can use the lot lines that are currently exist and build the structures that he's proposed on his plan so long as
He would need another variance, which he hasn't requested.
But the point being is that he can get these approvals and then have the planning board make a determination as to what his future needs are.
And then he'd have to come back, and he would have to come back to us if
He
they
may.
which makes to me is.
But we can't presuppose what might happen in the planning board and apply that to our consideration of an application now that is
But I don't
right
think we're
for determination.
presupposing. I think we're acknowledging that they don't have the ability to do what they're showing us they want to do on the plans they submitted to us.
If it's an
So-
additional reason to.
But either way, I think it's, and I don't want to get even, I mean, I'm happy with what you said, and you can leave it at that as far as.
Well, I agree with George. I agree
Wait a minute, on
with
the same
George.
token, if we approve as written, as it is, the variance is approved, it stays with that piece of property for even the next owner.
you could in theory condition it based on all the representations that were made about what's not gonna be used, what's not gonna be outside. You could write up conditions.
No, but what I'm saying is the variance of the two buildings and stuff still
Yes.
stays with that property.
Yes.
So
The
even if
next
he
owner.
took it away, the next owner comes in, I want to put it back in or whatever.
Who's not maybe the most reputable guy,
Right,
and
but
isn't
what I'm
going to
saying, you
be
could
considerate of the
you could still
community, and
condition-
isn't going to care about whether or not, you know, he's
This
having a
applicant
negative.
Because I'm not questioning, it's going to be an improvement, no matter which way you look at it, of that lot. Because they're putting drainage, they're putting everything else, and they're changing the elevations, I mean,
The other thing too is, you have a portable office. What's stopping them in 2 years from now saying, you know, get rid of the office, just keep the building?
Well, they'd
Who's
have to
gonna be
go,
around?
and they'd have to get another permit for the new structure with the office
They'd
inside
have to
of
go
it.
back to
No, they already got
They gotta
both
go back-
structures
they gotta
up.
go back
They'd
to
have to go back to planning and
because they're changing the site
get an
plan.
approval for it.
If they-
Because they're changing their, well, anyway. It's-
unfortunately, the building
pers-
inspector has
personally,
approved this,
George,
is not here
I
to.
wouldn't approve of it. I just wouldn't. I
You
can't,
wanna
in
do
good
a
conscience.
straw vote, see who's.
I don't need a straw vote.
Everybody has their reasons.
I mean, I already see.
All right, then I'm going to make a motion at this point, if we're prepared to do so.
Yeah,
All right, I'm going to make a motion at this point to deny the application based upon the application of the 267B factors, specifically with regard to the significance of the variance, the fact that it is asking for 12 feet in excess of what's 15 that's permitted for a total of 27 feet. That's approximately an 80% or so ask, in addition to the fact that it would not present the applicant with an inability to make use of the property and to derive a benefit from the property, because he clearly can simply put the office space within the larger structure, and then he wouldn't need the variance, so he still has the ability to make use of the property in a profitable way. Third, this is entirely self-created. He obviously bought the property knowing that it had this limitation, and he is attempting to figure out how best to use it. This was his plan A. If plan A fails, he certainly has plan B. So for those reasons, as well as the adverse impact it clearly will have on the community, although we could perhaps minimize it with buffering to diminish the significance of the site and the aesthetic damage that it would cause to the people in the community. For all those reasons, I would vote to deny the application.
All right, who seconds it?
I second them.
All right, Nixon, I'm against it. Scott?
So you're ensuring you're in favor of the motion to deny?
That's correct.
And I concur with the reasons set
Herb?
forth by George.
I'm just going to be the last holdout. I don't agree with denying it.
All right, so the denial is carried 4-1. Do I have a motion to end the meeting?
Motion to end the meeting.
I'll second.
Close it.